Hey, it's time for some Type 40, extra Type 40 here exclusively for you on the Spacebook channel with me, Dan Monsoon, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. It's Type 40 extra and an after show, but also it's a before show and it's an in-between show too, between all the podcasts and live streams that we put out with the Fandom Podcast Network and here on the channel, scrolling the view screen across the Whoniverse, clocking the fixed points and the not so much off or on screen. And it's up to the minute Whoniverse news again here for the anniversary year with my friends. We're all here, settled down nicely-ish, aren't we, guys? So I've got Ian David Diaz, the one and only Mega Geek, Simon Horton, just over the other end of him. I've thrown the ball there like that. And below me, there's Keegan. We've got JT there in the white room. You look very chilled out there, mate. And there's our mate, Problem being the one and only Lee, composer of the Type 40 theme tune, the best theme tune in Doctor Who podcasting. He's here. The gang's all here. And we're all smiles for now as we hunker down in the console room here to get stuck into it. I know why you're all here. I know, but we've got to have a little bit of coziness, I feel. Let's get rid of that banner so it's not blocking Keegan's face. And let's talk a little. So, okay, it's the Easter holidays, sort of, almost. We were here a few days ago. I thought we'd warm ourselves in Bournemouth here. Obviously we're talking about Russell T Davies and another one of his decisions, but this reminds me of an original decision of his from back in the day, JT, with the Fat TARDIS. This is, remember the Fat TARDIS controversy? It seems so tame now, doesn't it, 20 years on?
I'm speechless. I
don't even remember the Fat TARDIS controversy. What was all that?
Yeah, that happened in 2004 when the first view of the new series version of the TARDIS, the police box, came out, and everybody was going on the windows the wrong size. It's too big. The dimensions were wrong. I think we all had to look at it and went, "Yeah, it's not the same, is it?" But there you go.
Oh, blimey! If only those are the only problems these days.
Exactly. We've gone from trivial to absolute rubbish.
I have seen that TARDIS in real life. Well, I say TARDIS, I mean police box. It's a brand new one. It was built only a few years ago, and it's a nice thing to see, even though it is a bit weird on the dimensions.
Is it built from concrete or metal or wood, or what is it?
I think I'm not entirely sure. It might be a prefab. I have no idea, but I have been near it. I've walked past it. I've seen it in use. So yeah. I
wonder if you can get. So this is in Christchurch. Bloody hell! Hardly get your mouth in gear. Christchurch Road, Boscombe, Bournemouth. I have been there, but that definitely wasn't there then. That's in England. And I'm wondering, do you think you could get a miniature pool table in there, Keegan? What do you think?
Yeah.
You might get the table in, but you wouldn't get much elbow room to get those corner shots in, would you?
No.
Be a bit tricky.
You couldn't even swing a cat in it. Well, you could, but the cat wouldn't look very good when it came out.
What is it, though? Is it a toilet or something? What is
it?
It's
a police box. It's a real police box, yeah.
Police box, yeah.
So the problem being, what did you see it being used as? When you say you saw it in action, what was it being used for at the time?
When they opened it up, they had a sort of police thing and the balloons and all this kind of stuff. So it had just been opened. It has internet access, and it's like a little hub. I assume they can use it for what they used to use it for.
Locking up drunks and prossies.
Yeah, probably.
Both drunk and prossies.
It was unusual to see a brand new police box. You'd think, why are they doing this when they've got radios and all the rest of it? But there you are.
Well, there's one in London as well, isn't there? It's like the one at is it Earl's Court? I can't remember where it is.
Earl's Court, yeah. But the Earl's one at Earl's Court is very old. It's been there years.
Years and years and years. But it's the same function.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, yeah. They have yet to got any of them anywhere near me. But if only the Fat TARDIS and those windows were the kind of thing that we could occupy our minds with and gas about in 2023. It's only been 2 weeks since we had the last enormous clanger that was dropped on this fandom in the form of Suze Kempner on the Doomsday trailer. I was going to say, does anybody remember that? A lot of us are still having therapy for it.
So that was to forget it. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I do wish you'd stop showing that picture. I really do. It just drives me mad.
That hit us all square in the plums. everything has gone a little bit orange as well this week. Something big and orange, and not quite as friendly looking as this that we see on screen. Not quite as tasty to my eyes. It's another thing that is kind of blighting the anniversary year, I feel. Okay, so this story broke just yesterday, and it came initially from Variety. So Variety is a big international showbiz trade magazine. And in my experience, I've never really seen many Doctor Who items come from Variety, but they were so eager to get into this that they broke an embargo. This is something I found out. There was an embargo on this until 8 o'clock yesterday evening on, so that was Monday, the 3rd of April. But Variety broke it to bring us this news that Doctor Who adds drag race winner Jinx Monsoon to the cast. And the article goes on to say, Jinx Monsoon, winner of the 5th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, whatever that is, and the 7th season of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, my God, has been added to the cast of the BBC's long-running, immensely popular Doctor Who series. Monsoon is set to be playing a major role. The major comes in inverted commas in the series, and we have a couple of quotes as well. So this character, obviously, I had never heard of Jinx Monsoon. I don't think that's anything particularly to be ashamed of. And 24 hours on, I kind of wish that I still lived in ignorance. We've got a couple. I mean, obviously, there's this picture's been absolutely everywhere of this person, of this character, of this guy, and the whole fandom has sort of erupted. Now, Ian, I know that you're not a big one for clamoring all over social media for these things, but you must have seen this, the furore, the latest furore.
I only saw it when you guys were talking about it in the Facebook thing. I knew nothing about this at all, and quite frankly, when you guys were talking about it, I didn't even investigate it because obviously, I think that all roads lead to bad Who. That's what obviously I've been saying that, and so has Simon been saying that for a long time. So I'm not really surprised. So is this happening? I'm
going to say you've gone really quite muted on it all, haven't you? But someone who's never muted is Russell T Davies. We've got a statement from him, Keegan. He said, "In a galaxy of comets and supernovas, here comes the biggest star of all. Jinx Monsoon is on a collision course with the TARDIS, and Doctor Who will never be the same again." Now, Russell has been known to trade in hyperbole, Keegan. So when you see you saw this statement as well. So when you saw it and that picture, how do you react to statements like this from Russell? Do you take it for what it is, or are you a little bit worn down the way that some of us are?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm more of, I need to see it before I judge, but I've always been like that. When I first saw it, it gives me very Master Missy vibes for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Please, what?
Yes, Missy vibes for some reason.
But when you see Russell talking things up like this, does this have any effect on you at all? Are you kind of immune to the publicity machine?
Yeah, I'm very immune. It doesn't really bother me.
So we've got
until I see the series itself, then I will judge.
We've got that from Russell, and it was in the same statement that Variety went with JT. We've got this from Jinx Monsoon himself. "I'm honoured, thrilled, and utterly excited to join Doctor Who. Russell T Davies is a visionary and a brilliant writer. I agree with you. I can't wait to get into the weeds with him and the crew. I hope there's room in the TARDIS for my luggage." I think we can all guess the kind of luggage that that Jinx is talking about. So, I'd never heard of Jinx Monsoon, JT. I know that when it comes to the drag world, it's not my wheelhouse at all. I've got nothing necessarily against this brand of entertainment. I think it's pretty good in its place. I've seen extraordinary things. But you're somebody, you are quite familiar with this world, aren't you? And had you heard of Jinx Monsoon?
No, I hadn't, because the drag that I worked with for many years was proper drag. It was entertainers. It was comedian in the British way of drag, not this American nonsense that we have from that old crone RuPaul, which has just infected the United Kingdom. It's absolute bull nonsense. But what my drag was proper drag, where it was a bloke in a dress telling rude jokes to an adult audience, and then at the end of the show, the frock came off and off they went. Now, I mean, this is, from my point of view, this is absolute nonsense. And guess what? A rare opportunity to see a drag queen on the BBC in this day and age. How utterly shocking, because it isn't, is it? And I'm actually, thank you to the Facebookers that got in touch with me only within the last 15, 20 minutes with various sources. 4 different sources of British media today are all asking the same question, and I'm going to ask it now. Why is the BBC obsessed with drag? And I'll tell you why. The answer is simple, because a really misinformed generation don't understand this. They've been brought up on that old crone show, and the BBC think that because it gets slightly higher ratings than anything else on the failing channel BBC 3, that's the next generation of license fee payers. That's what they're after. And Russell the Righteous, because he knows this guy, I want to know exactly, firstly, has he cast his pal, the actor, or has he cast Monsoon the drag act? I want to know what he's done here. But yet again, Russell the Righteous is pushing this agenda because Russell is not happy with the fact that people are questioning the TQI beliefs of which Russell and his cult are part of. I think this is shocking, absolutely shocking.
You see, this represents an abuse of, if not power, then of position.
Oh, totally. Russell T Davies is the custodian of this show. In fact, now actually, he's the owner of this show. And what Russell is doing, what he is doing right now is reacting, as I've been saying before, to all this fact that all these people who are now labelled, listen, all of you watching are now right-wing. Deal with that. You're right-wing because you don't think the same way Russell and his cult actually dictate. So just deal with it. Get over it. That's fine. It's fine. Who cares? They do. But what they're doing there basically is Russell's reacting through the casting trans rights or this nonsense. And now he's going on about the drag queens because parents across the world are questioning whether they want their children to be taking part in something called drag queen story time. Russell won't agree with that. I will come down on the rights of the parents of the right to choose whether their child takes part in something called drag queen story time. But according to Russell and all his pals, no, that's wrong. That's right wing. That's all this phobe-ist nonsense. And so what he's doing, I'll just put it into Doctor Who, which children like, and nobody can do anything about it. I think it's a misuse of his responsibilities on this show.
The 2 words, drag queen, that used to conjure up quite particular things in my head, Simon. When I heard that phrase, I'd think of things like, I suppose, like hen parties and end of the pier comedy nights and things like that. Again, a brand of comedy that, and just like, for example, like Roy Chubby Brown's brand of comedy, I'm not really into that. You know, that's for adults as well. And for me, drag comedy is, as JT says, lewd jokes, filthy songs, and appalling outfits, all part of the fun. It's not my thing, but I get it. Here we have, now in the 21st century, that phrase drag queen, it does seem, I mean, you heard JT speak from a very impassioned and a very informed point of view. For me, who's very much from the point of view of somebody just sat on the couch watching this stuff, a layman, that simple words drag queen, that term has started to change as well, to morph into something a little unfortunate, unsavory, and with a stench around it. And do you see where I'm coming from with that, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, I am not a fan of drag and never have been. I understand its place, I appreciate its place, and to be honest, I've had some fantastic nights at drag clubs watching brilliant, true drag, as JT says, that he's true, genuine, for want of a better phrase, straight down the middle drag, as it's meant to be. Now, drag has become subverted in recent years into something that's suddenly become very mainstream. Drag, as it was very niche, was very specific about what it did and how it did. And I'm not going to describe it because JT's just done that. That's absolutely what it is. It has become subverted into the mainstream. That is purely, to a large extent, down to RuPaul. It's also down to other things such as Eurovision. I can't even remember the name of Dana International, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Drag though, lovely.
I know, but the point I'm making is that those kind of people have sort of now blurred the lines. We know all the lines are blurred these days. And so it's just shifted dynamics somewhat. Now, to be clear, I have absolutely no problem. As I say, I'm not a big fan of drag. I've had some great nights at drag clubs, but it's not something that floats my boat particularly. But I don't have a problem with it. It's absolutely fine in its place. There's no problem whatsoever. Do I want it in Doctor Who? Almost certainly not, for the simple fact that, yet again, as we've said before so many times, I fear that what's happening here is Russell is completely missing the point yet again of how to make good Doctor Who. And it begins with the story. And to tell you the honest truth, I don't give a stuff if there's a drag queen in Doctor Who. What I care about is, are you going to tell some good stories? And so far, the indications are worrying to me that you're not. Because you're putting the cart before the horse, because we're casting these people. This is back in the 80s. People that remember far enough back to dear old JNT will remember a lot of the stick that he got was for stunt casting. Now, you know, if this
is a form of
stunt casting, I honestly don't know what it is. This is stunt casting of the highest degree. But somehow JNT got knocked for stunt casting. But Russell is embraced because everybody loves Russell, and so all this stuff casting is brilliant.
Simon, what I don't understand, or no, I think I do understand it only too well. What frustrates me as a fan who doesn't share this sensibility, I'm happy for hyperbole to come out there, because just like Keegan, I think I've got it in check. I think I know not to read everything into it. And I'm happy for stunt casting has never particularly bothered me. So I'm happy with that in theory. But I have to say that we've had this big announcement, and we've had similar announcements to this, and yet we still don't know. So we know there's a drag queen performer in the next series, but we still don't know the identity of any of the writers of this stuff. And
that's nonsense, isn't it?
And I think that would make, but there's a massive part of the Doctor Who fan base, and probably, if they've got a couple of big name writers, I'm sure that mainstream would be interested too, if they've managed to get, somebody of the caliber, but certainly the profile of Neil Gaiman on board for this run. And yet we don't seem to know anything about the writers, any of the substance of the things that, as Simon quite rightly says, that are integral to a good series of Doctor Who and good storytelling. But this sort of stuff, no matter how good a drag queen Jinx Monsoon is, that's not going to make this series any more watchable than a decent crop of writers, surely.
Well, certainly not for the public, but it's interesting what you're saying there. Can we get rid of that picture now? It's offending me. I'm offended. The thing about this is, what you're actually saying there, I was actually sitting on the toilet thinking about this earlier, because that's where the best place is to now, because it's all down the dumper anyway. Yeah. But what I was thinking about is Russell T Davies, in his obsession with annoying us, trolling us, to use the current parlance. Is he trolling us? Because in the last few weeks, we've had the renewal of Redacted. We've had the Doomsday nonsense. We've had some casting, including this particular one. Is he trying to actually upset us all? And if that's the case, you are actually pushing us away from this show again, Mr. Davis. Yeah. You're not bringing us together in the 60th anniversary year. If you look at everything, and actually you can't look at anything now, because the BBC social media today has been erasing and hiding comments which are derogatory and in the negative, which is totally against the democratic right to a freedom of speech. So what they're doing is they're hiding all this. So you've got all these bits and pieces where people have been unhappy with this, have questioned this. and they're just laughing at us. You just know they're sitting in Bad Wolf Towers today going, ha, 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 look at all these right-wingers. We're offending all the people that don't think about us. Ha, 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 ha. And if that is the case, if it comes out that this fella is going to be in Doctor Who and he's not playing Jinx Monsoon, but he's playing something else, goodness, no. I mean, how ridiculous is he?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because as somebody who's been in the trenches with this now for 5 years, through the absolutely insufferable tenure of Jodie Whittaker as easily the worst incarnation of Doctor Who.
Them all. Let's face it, she played the biggest drag of them all in the entire series. Never mind Troughton, never mind Pertwee.
That was hard. And I've put my share of contentious opinions out there about that. I mean, I like to think I've always been reasonably respectful, but I've pulled no punches. But I have never seen censorship of social media platforms on a scale. I know that we're very much on a journey to that place, on a scale that I have in the last 24 hours.
And why now? Why this particular thing?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting.
That is interesting. I want to know why the comments suddenly about Jinx Monsoon. Why are they being censored? Nothing else. Nothing about the next trans actor that's just been cast in the show. The second one in a series, and that token virtue signaling tick box. But this particular one, I don't get it. In fact, I just don't understand anything at all about Russell the Righteous, and that's my new name for him, Russell the Righteous.
Well, he said, he's put this up on Twitter. I'm sorry, it's that picture again. It says, there's a storm coming in, Doctor. A monsoon. Yes, Jinx Monsoon. Broadway sellout sensation. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star of All-Stars joins Doctor Who in a major role. Again, there's that expression, a major role. It's going to be spectacular. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So excited. You're always excited. Fair play. So honoured. It's been 6 months in the planning, and there's more details. If this guy gets the cover of DWF,
did you see the other thing as well on Russell's? Did you see the other thing on Russell's Instagram? And again, thank you very much to a couple of space bookers who sent this to me. I won't name the person who said this because I don't know if they're famous or not, but the right, this is me quoting, the right said, we're all right, we're all on the right, get used to it. The right said, we don't want drag queens around our children. The King, Russell Davis, 63, said, hold my beer, emoji face, let's go, party, 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 all this shit. Oh, sorry. And then Russell T. Davis gets back saying to that person, it's not too bad at the moment, but the fight goes on, love you. What fight? Drag queens are not an endangered species, are they, Simon?
That's very worrying.
Well, Russell needs the fight. Russell is to write some good scripts and to get people back to watching Doctor Who. You know, can we please, Russell? I'm just so bored with the hyperbole that Russell comes out with. He just opens his mouth and rubbish comes out of it. And yet again, we're being told how excited we're going to be by all this and how brilliant it's going to be. I mean, that first quote that you put up from Russell, where he's saying the biggest star of all. Let's be clear about this, Russell. We're not talking about, I don't know, Derek Jacobi. We're not talking about Jeff Goldblum. We're not talking about Tilda Swinton. We're talking about somebody whose name I don't even know. So trust me, Russell, on this one. They're not actually the biggest star of all. So can you please just stop the hyperbole and stop telling me how excited I'm going to be by this? Because trust me, I'm not. I will be excited. To be really, really clear about this, I'm not against a drag queen in Doctor Who, but there's going to have to be a damn good reason why it's there, and it's going to have to be a really, really good story. You're going to have to win people over if there's a reason why we've got a drag queen there, because it's a brilliant, brilliant story. We'll come back in a year's time and say, wow, what a story. Fantastic. I eat my words.
It's allegedly a major role as well. Don't forget, Simon. That's the thing about this. So
I'm well aware.
To illustrate what Keegan said at the top of the, that's an horrific point of view, to be quite honest. But going back to what you were saying, Simon, about this, in the 1980s, God love him, John Nathan Turner knew many of the same drag queens I did. Yeah. Did you ever see a Doctor Who episode that included a drag queen or banged on about Clause 28? You know, Section 28 in the decade where gay rights were not there. Where LGBT rights were not even in the pipeline. We were fighting for
the height of the AIDS crisis and all manner of other things that were
anything like that, even though he was there. And Russell is the opposite of him. John Nathan Turner was professional. No matter what you think of his era, he would never have dreamt of doing that, although he could have done easily. He wanted the people that he thought the public would respond to. Whereas this lot coming in now are in their echo chamber, and are just all TQI plus. It's nonsense. I don't know what Problem Being thinks about that, or Problem Bassoon, as he's talking tonight. Where is he?
I wanted to ask you directly about this one, Lee, because this is something I've seen, and I know that you worked with the late Paul O'Grady. Paul O'Grady passed away last week, as I'm sure you know, and the nation was very, almost in mourning for this entertainer. And one thing I've read a lot in the last 24 hours is, well, hang on a minute, you lot, because as you know, we all get grouped together. Anybody who goes against the group think, the NPC sort of blah, 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 anybody who goes against that, we all get grouped together. You lot love Paul O'Grady this time last week. He's no different to Jinx Monsoon. Have you seen that, Lee? Have you seen that response? And how would you? You worked with Paul O'Grady. How would you respond to that? And what's the distinction? I think I know what it is, but you know better than I do. What is it?
Well, I'm glad that the main color scheme is red, because that's exactly what I'm seeing. And it looks like a blood splatter, which looks like the murder of Doctor Who, as far as I can see it. And the difference is, well, Paul O'Grady was a class act.
Yes.
Someone who earned his stripes for many, many years, working in the clubs, then working in theatre, and then earning his stripes because he was a quality, funny entertainer. Lily Savage was a fantastic character, but that Lily Savage from the Vauxhall Tavern days to the Lily Savage of Blankety Blank is not the same Lily Savage. It was toned down for the audience. It was very clever and very astute in how he used his language and double entendre to get his points across. And then when he successfully moved on to tea time and mainstream success, he became Paul O'Grady. He got rid of the drag act and he toned, and he became a household name because he understood. He was an intelligent guy who understood where his audience lay, and he built towards that. He funneled his talent into that mainstream beautifully, and well. He didn't, like this Monsoon character, come in like guns blazing with all the activism on social media. And this is a social media casting, let's be honest. This is what it's all about. It's
I did wonder about that. I've since done a little bit of detective work, which I'll come back to in a moment. It seems that it isn't all a social media thing this time, but go on, carry on.
Well, I mean, what I mean by that is it is pandering to the social media fandom. Okay, this is the tone deafness of RTD in my mind, because he, like the people before him under Chibnall's era, were pandering to the loudest, most vocal voices.
Yes,
I was in a bit of a spat on Instagram the other day, where I was basically told that to shut up. I was told that I was internalized homophobe. I was told all these things, and I was also told that the majority of the fandom were the Q word, and to get over.
Really?
This is the delusional fugue state that we are in. It's insane to assume that the greater British audience are the Q word. Right, which I have massive gripes with as someone who experienced extreme physical violence. I was also assaulted in a way by a drag queen many moons ago. So that may be informing my point of view on this, even though I love Lily Savage. It's not the same thing at all. But I would say that this is something that comes about at a very contentious time in our society, where we have this huge influx of Americanization of our culture. We have, as JT rightly pointed out, this sort of American version of drag queens, which are almost indistinguishable these days from trans issues. They try and conflate those two things together, and it's not right. We have, it's almost like it's a gateway, a colorful, bright, over-the-top, colorful gateway to the tea through drag queens. And I think that is undeniable at this point. And I think we have to say, not for Doctor Who. I'm sorry, no. Absolutely.
Like I say,
not.
I've always been fine with drag in its place. My experience, similarly on social media, I didn't go and court. I'll be honest with you, my initial reaction to this was just completely, I was completely switched off. Totally turned off by it. As I said, the drag scene isn't something that appeals to me, but I've got nothing against it. And I am often in awe of the people who hone this craft. I mean, some of the singing is astonishing, but everything about this breaking just had this terrible aftertaste to it. It's like it just all feels so wrong time. The wording of the press release, Simon, everything, you know, referring to Jinx Monsoon, to this person as an actress, when it's a man, a drag act. If somebody is in drag,
she, her, they, them.
But if somebody's dressing up, if somebody is dressing up as the opposite sex, then they are a drag act. So a drag act is not an act. And a few years ago, we were told we weren't allowed to use a sexual specific words like actor and actress. Actresses, sorry. Now all of a sudden it's okay for just for Jinx Monsoon.
Yeah, women are. You can't call women an actress. You have to call a trans or a drag queen.
No, Judi Dench can't win an award in a Best Actress category anymore. But Jinx Monsoon, she can be an actress. It's absolutely fine.
And win the award. All these people have to do is turn up. Oh, here's an award. Or here's a role in a top-rated drama, which Doctor Who once was. It's not going to be again. But what you felt there, Dan, the public will feel. Because, you know, again, PP is absolutely right here. Right now is not the time to do anything like this, because there are bigger societal issues that are being not discussed exactly because it's clamped down. People won't discuss it. But we've also got the issue of women here. I know lots of women from my past and my present that do not like drag because of what it does. You know, I mean, you know, I can get that. I understand that completely. So they're not going to watch this at all. They're not going to buy into this. In fact, there will be certain things going on which is being prepared now by various women, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. That's up to them, because I get it. I do understand, and it's historical in the gay circuit as well, that whole element there, where the lesbians were quite happy with what was being presented. I do get that. I understand that. But again, those women are being labelled as right-wing or some sort of phobe or ist or the N-word. It's shocking.
Simon talked about it earlier on, this conflation with other topics. And Lee, you know, you led into it as well. And there's a whole, at the end of the day, drag is becoming attached to something that that parents are mindful of, aware of. And children are to be protected at all times. At the end of the day, I feel that rightly or wrongly, maybe without any justification at all, that by Russell installing a drag queen into Doctor Who and making such a big song and dance about it a year before, it's giving people reasons to not watch this show. This show that's on its arse. It's still on its arse, Simon.
I think to a large extent, you hit the nail on the head really there. The whole point is, why is such a big deal being made about this? Yet again, we're back to RTD hyperbole, where we're told that this is the best thing that's ever happened to the show, is a drag queen. Finally, you know, we've been trying to get he might as well have said, we've been trying to get a drag queen in the show for years, and we finally got the best one on the whole planet in the show, because it's this constant barrage about how brilliant it's going to be, as you say, a year before the event.
Narcissism.
I don't get why he thinks anybody, either fans or the general public, are going to say, wow, have you heard the news? Doctor Who's got a drag queen in it. Oh, it's time to celebrate.
I mean,
no,
Simon,
you put a really good actor in Doctor Who. I saw somebody else mention in the chat earlier on this evening, Patrick Stewart. Great. You put a really good actor in the show and you will get the fans and the public on board. Jinx Monsoon, and drag acts that nobody's seen apart from 3 people that watch BBC 3. Yeah. It's not going to set the world on fire, Russell. Why do you say it?
But even so, Simon, what you're saying there, Simon, is apparently last week there were even more casting announced through nobody picked up on the casting of regular people going into Doctor Who. It's all about the trans ones or the drag queen one.
Yeah, I
It's
have
never
got
gonna
that.
be
I
about
have
the
got
normal
that.
people, is it,
I
Dan?
have got that story prepared as well, just in case
We'll come back to it then. Stay tuned.
Just in case we sort of didn't have enough to talk about here, but I think we can safely say that we have. You know, Simon, when I was a little kid, the sight of Scaroth, played by Julian Glover in The City of Death, scared the living crap out of me. now kids are going to be scared by this instead.
No comparison, is there? There's no comparison.
This is what I'm saying. Why are we even having to sit here and talk about a drag acting Doctor Who? We should be talking about exciting things like monsters. Listen. Let's be honest. There could be a planet out there of drag artists. Maybe there is a planet. I don't have no problem. But that's not what I watch Doctor Who for. I watch Doctor Who.
Maybe that's the story.
For aliens, for monsters, for ray gun battles, for fun, for good stuff, not for drag acts. If you want to watch a drag act, go and watch RuPaul. That's not why I watch
Obviously,
Doctor Who.
That's not what Russell T Davies stands for, does he? He and his TQI obsessed cult are bringing all this, and they're going to continue it. And what they're doing right now is they're trolling the fandom, as I say, to use that word. They're laughing at us there, and they're saying, we're going to punish you for dissing our mate Chibnall's era and nearly getting it off the air. But do you know what? Bad thing to do, because you need us in this. I've said this before, you need us to bring the public. Yep. We're not going to. You need us to spend the money on the merchandise. If I was a licensee negotiating for a Doctor Who product right now, I'd be crapping myself, quite frankly, thinking, oh, there's backlash after everything they've done over the last 3 weeks. I might pull out of that. And it's
all this in the 60th year, where we should be focusing on the Doctor.
And celebrating
the history of Doctor Who.
Bringing Doctor Who back together in this year was achievable, and they haven't bothered, PB.
Well, you know what? You've got
the future of Doctor Who to look forward to, but you don't just look. The point is, right, what RTD is doing is he's presenting what is ostensibly a triumphalist movement. That is, look what we've got. We've captured Doctor Who. We've got this now. Yabu, sucks to you. And really what this is about, it's about antagonizing people as much as possible and saying, we've got Doctor Who now. Get out the fact. Doctor Who, which used to be for everybody, is now exclusively for an elite.
Yes. It's if you don't think like them, you're not wanted. This is the Chibnall era all over again. It's a continuation, and I hope that they see millions and millions of pounds and dollars go down the toilet, because they deserve everything they're going to get. Because I don't think this is going to be. I'm not going to be watching next year.
But I do want to clearly say here, I really hope we all come back in a year, 18 months' time and say, wow, we were wrong. Well done, Russell. Nice.
Do you know what? If that was the case, I would be very happy to do that, Sam. And we've talked about that before, but I genuinely don't think that's the case.
Neither do I.
This is Russell's, as Mega Geeky always says, agenda, to use his word.
Neither do I, and you know that because I said it 18 months ago that it was not going to work.
I would have preferred if Doctor Who had ended with Chibnall at this point.
I would have preferred if Doctor Who had ended.
It's almost like,
to be quite honest.
When I went to social media,
I mean, ultimately though, we would have been better off if it would have just died its death.
Absolutely. It should have gone with that for a few years.
When I went to social media to talk about this, I was immediately met with, and I had that reaction where I was turned off, Lee. So I had that, and I thought, why do I feel this way? It's not really of any consequence to me about drag. Why is this switching me off so much? So I went to see what other people were saying, and I tried to have conversations on social media. On Facebook, which is Facebook tends to be more reasonable than Twitter. Perhaps not as reasonable as Instagram, but pretty reasonable. So I went and I asked a couple of questions. There were some people who were very much as we were feeling. Other people were kind of, I don't know who this is, but fine, cool. People who literally just didn't care. And there were other people who all they posted were, wow, this is really exciting. I saw lots of people say that, wow, this is really exciting. They didn't substantiate that in any way. And so I asked a couple, why are you excited by this? In fact, I don't think I even put it like that. I just put, why? How? thinking they were going to say, well, I saw this person in Chicago. They were amazing. So nothing like that. I was immediately met with hostility. I was immediately treated as an adversary. And I was immediately called names. I was called a transphobe. Now, transgenderism. Transgenderism. What on earth has this got to do with the transgender movement? This is a drag. This is a drag act. This is, to the best of my knowledge.
No. It's a drag.
I know that there's all these different
but this person identifies as a she, her, him, or she, her, she, her, they, them.
See now, I know there's supposed to be. I know that there's supposed to be however many genders to some people at the moment, but to the best of my knowledge, a drag act isn't any form of identity. It's a job, like a window cleaner, a bus driver.
Exactly.
It's entertainment. So if I don't feel a certain brand of entertainment, like I say, I don't like Chubby Brown either. I could never really stand Paul Daniels. Nobody ever called me a nasty name for that.
No.
I had an interaction on Instagram about this, and I was told, and I'm telling you what I was told to me, right? That drag acts, drag queens, and trans people have the same fight and the same prejudice every single day, and it's
exactly what
bloody nonsense.
That's what Russell believes, isn't it? But I'd like to say, Dan, you are absolutely right. Drag in the United Kingdom is a it is a tradition, but in a sense, but it's not. It was popular on the LGB circuit for decades, as the three of us on this panel will know. I have to point out again, to a lot of women, it wasn't. It was tolerated, or they didn't like it. I want to point that out and make that clear, so we're putting the girls in the frame here. But it is a man in a frock telling jokes to an adult audience. That's what drag is here. Problem being is right when he said earlier that because of this American thing with that old crone from America, bringing that nonsense across the world, it's now very, very confused young men who think they're women. And that's where the blurs are coming through. I watched that show once.
It's a fetish.
Never again. I met him once, and never. I was there the night that Paul met him, Lee. I was there.
They didn't get on, did they?
I'll tell you off air.
I didn't.
Talking about across the world, we've been joined by Matt Pott from Tasmania, who's just got up. It's the morning for Matt. So, Matt, did you see this story break? I'm not sure how much you've heard of us exchanging opinions on this. Did you see the story break? And what were your initial thoughts? Because is RuPaul's Drag Race, is that big down under as well? I bet
it probably is, but I don't watch it. Look, nothing surprises me anymore. When I saw the announcement, I was like, oh, okay. Look, Doctor Who used to be unique amongst TV shows that were on constantly, that were all different varieties and everything. Now they all look the same.
Yeah, and it's like everything else.
Yeah, and I'm not really caring anymore. I sort of knew the way that he was RTD was going with the casting of the character of Rose. I don't care about sexuality or anything like that, but
it does make a statement. It does make a statement, doesn't it? I'm fine. I've always been fine with Yasmin Finney being in Doctor Who, but it does make a statement. It's clearly making some sort of statement.
Yes,
as well.
Yes. And I mean, it just takes me out of the adventure, and that's what I want to go on. I want to go on an adventure. I don't want to be preached at. I don't want to be told that I'm a bad person because I don't like this. I don't like this sort of sexual character or whatever. And I mean, it's just it's being forced down my throat, and I'm so sick of it.
Absolutely.
And,
but that's the point. It's meant to antagonize, and the problem here is that we've seen the reasons why this is happening. It's not a creative decision. This doesn't appear to me in any way a creative decision. This is propaganda. This is politicizing actors in the roles that they're being given because of their identity. And that is the death of art. That's the death of creativity, because you're not doing it. As Terence Dicks once said, you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Correct.
That's right. I mean, you have to, I'd love to sort of sit down with Russell now and say, okay, then Russell, did you just come up with a brilliant idea, a brilliant script, and didn't realise until later on that it actually required a drag queen to play the part? And then you went and look, no, of course, I'm almost certain that the drag queen will have come first. And right now, how do we write a story around that? And so then what you then get, as you say, Lee, is you throw in a controversial casting decision that is guaranteed to get us all hot and bothered talking about this, and they seem to revel in that. That's what they want. Instead of exciting us with a really good series of Doctor Who, what they want to do is just wind us all up. And I mean, they're succeeding in that respect.
It really is succeeding.
They're home laughing at us now, saying, "Yeah, we did it. We got them all hot under the collar." Well done to you, Russell.
That's what I was saying before. But when he goes on Instagram, when he goes on Instagram and says the fight goes on, listen, Russell. Take all this out of Doctor Who. This is not It's a Sin. This is not Queer as Folk. If you want all this, go back and do a story about transgender or drag queens, which you can put on Channel 4 with your pals down there on Channel 4 and watch it flop. I don't think he's got the nerve to do that because people won't watch it, and he doesn't want to flop because Russell's not used to having failures. So what does he do? He gets at the public, not just in the United Kingdom now, but actually in certain other civilized countries, and he sticks it all in Doctor Who. I can't get over that. Just write science fiction.
I know, that's what drives me mad. I say that's what I'm saying. That's what I watch Doctor Who for. It's not for drag art. It's for science fiction. As Matt said, it's for adventure. That's why we watch Doctor Who. There seems to be this massive misunderstanding that we're watching Doctor Who to see some agenda, some socio-political comment. Trust me, folks. We're not. Right, Doctor Who, as we want to see. Right, the robots
and children certainly aren't, are they, Simon?
Daleks.
No. You're not gonna look. The audience that they're pandering to is exactly the same audience that Chibnall and Whittaker were convinced was going to come on. They've learned absolutely nothing from the last few years because the show failed in the United Kingdom. We've been through this over and over and over again in the last 3 years. It's proven that the audience does not exist. But this obsession that Russell and his cronies have got, the obsession the BBC have got, they don't understand. And let's face it, look who runs the BBC. A load of small, younger, university-educated idiots, basically. They are woke as hell. They're all extreme left-wing ideologists. It's really coming out in every single programme going. And when people say to me, like Lee, of course, I have many, many conversations on social media. But when people say to me, oh, the viewing habits have changed on television. No, they haven't. It's the content. If you put good content on, people would sit down and watch the bloody television.
You tell the producers of Line of Duty that what the television habits have changed. See what they say. It says that Jinx joins Doctor Who after completing her sell-out run on Broadway, where she made a highly anticipated debut as matron Mama Morton in Broadway's longest-running show. Broadway's longest-running show, Chicago. Yes, very American. And it was apparently it was historical for the LGBTQIA. There's more letters than ever in the alphabet thing. Yep. I can't say all that for the alphabet people community.
Anything right of LGB is basically heterosexual.
And
she became the first drag queen to play. The language makes no sense to me. The role of Mama Morton breaking box. It sounds fabulous. And seriously, anybody who achieves this level of success in their field has my admiration.
But do they, Dan? Because or were they cast for tick boxing reasons?
Well, I mean that achievement on Broadway. I see what you mean. If it's the first female, I get you. Yeah, first female impersonator.
Drag queen playing this role.
I don't even know what a drag act is anymore. Okay, but but I went to look this up, and Jinx Monsoon is actually 35-year-old Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa, an American drag performer, actor, comedian, and singer.
No wonder he takes the bloody name.
Who came through RuPaul's Drag Race. Also a recording artist, several albums, one released in 2014 and in 2018.
Voice, by the way. I hear that.
Amazing singing voice. Yeah. Apparently Hoffa modelled his drag persona on a mixture of people, his own mother, the comedian Lucille Ball from the 1950s, the awful Sarah Silverman, and he came by the name Monsoon because he's a massive fan of Absolutely Fabulous. And of course, Jennifer
Adina.
Saunders' character in that was Adina Monsoon, and that's how we now have this character. A character. That's what it is. It is an act. It is a performance. It is a character of Jinx Monsoon, and that is fine. You know, I grew up watching Dame Edna Everage and all these other things. Yeah, I know how it works, but it is a character. It is an act. Keegan, you're very, very quiet, mate. I know we've done a lot of talking. We've ranted on there. How do you feel about this? I mean, listening to us there, pick up on all sorts of threads to this. Where are you feeling with this? I mean, were you aware of Jinx Monsoon? Do you see where we're coming from? Do we sound like a load of old dinosaurs? Are we missing anything? Or how do you feel about this?
I get where you're coming from after the last horrible 5 years with the casting and the writing. And the casting doesn't bother me. If there's a good story and there's fun and we can enjoy it, that's all I care about.
Fun counts for a lot.
Yeah. They can hire gay actors, make them the main characters for the full episode.
But they're not gay. That's the thing. They're hiring people who are TQ plus.
And Doctor Who has been hiring gay actors since day one in 1963. It's just that they may not have been out. We've had gay producers, we've had gay directors, we've had gay lighting directors, stage managers. I mean, it's show business. Homosexuals have been there for years, Keegan. What you're saying there illustrates a lot of what I think about your generation. You just haven't basically got a grip yet. It really is, because these things matter. These things absolutely matter to the society you're going to be growing into. Because I guarantee you, if this nonsense doesn't end at some point, your life is going to be very, very different to ours, and it will be dictated by these extreme left-wing ideologists. And the right of freedom of speech will not exist.
The irony of all of this is that back in the day when a gay actor was cast, it was never announced that they were a gay actor. There was nothing said about it. You know, the trans actor that I think has been cast. You have to forgive me. I'm so bored with Doctor Who.
Yeah, and barely a word. A trans actor was cast in a role last week, along with another 5 actors, and it barely passed without a mention. I've got the list of names. They look like bright young things, eager to be in the show, but barely a passing thought was given to them.
It's not very fair on them, is it? Really?
No.
You know?
The thing that I just find really, really strange is that as a gay man, we fought labels for decades, and suddenly now you've got to have a label. It's all labels are coming back in the way that they've gone, and that's the thing that I find most worrying about the future is that we've all got to be labeled as something now, and I don't like being lumped in with basically nowadays there are either heterosexual people or there's everybody else. There's the alphabet community for once.
I am being forced. I'm
lumped in with that, I'm lumped in with that, and I don't want to be lumped in with that because
I'm being forced to accept the word queer as an umbrella identity, as a term that encompasses the whole LGBT thing. And I'm sorry, I find an awful lot of homophobia coming from the TQ plus.
Oh, absolutely. You and I see it all the time.
You've got this character here who identifies as a she, they, them. Basically, he's a man in a relationship with another man, but goes under the TQ plus.
Pathetic.
And I'm the one who gets told I'm internalizing my homophobia. Really? Yeah. But you don't criticize this person for the exact same thing. Come on. Yeah. Being gay now is so old-fashioned and old hat. They don't like homosexuals anymore because if you're not same gender attracted rather than same sex attracted, you are now outcast in your
That's
own.
what you know. You know as well as I do, Lee, that what happens with this whole cult as it is now, with which now includes Julie Russell and all his TQI production team, as it works. They all think the same, from the casting director to the producer to the executive producers. Yep. They're all on the same page, even to the actors. They are all on the same page, but they don't understand, or maybe they understand and are criminally ignoring the rise of homophobia from the TQI brigade, which includes, unfortunately, allegedly, this individual.
I heard,
shocking.
I can hear, obviously, all friends of mine. Some of you I know better than others. You know, I've only met Keegan in the last few months. But Lee, I can hear this. I can hear the hurt in your voice there, and I feel. And I can hear the talk. Well, not it is just, but you reflect as you say, and so was Simon. You're reflecting on your lives. I know you don't use words that are as sort of gauche as struggle. And all that kind of language, but you do talk earnestly from the heart, from experience, and from a place of wisdom. And I can tell that you don't want to have to bring these things out for another airing publicly, but so I do. I mean, my heart goes out to you. Today I did a little bit of detective work on this, Simon, and I heard that Q word a lot for an hour earlier today because I went and I listened to this. This is Hi Jinx. This is the Jinx Monsoon podcast, everybody. I don't know if this has been talked about yet. This is his own podcast that's out there across the podcatchers, and this is the blurb: drag darling and winner of blah blah blah. Jinx Monsoon brings her unique brand of talk to the airwaves through thoughtful, hilarious, and probing conversations with your favorite celebrities, comedians, and artists. So yeah, he's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. It's fine. So I went to listen to this. You might think, well, why on earth did you do that, Dan? And I listened to an entire episode, and that Q word came out over and over and over and over again. And I'll be honest with you, Jinx Monsoon wasn't quite as nauseating a persona as I was expecting her to be. At points, there was a little bit of singing.
Him to be. He's a drag queen. He's a him.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, like, it's the guy I'm trying to figure it out, this character, because it's a performance, it's an act. Like Dame Edna's an act, you know, we refer to Dame Edna as her, and Barry Humphries as it. So I'm trying to look at it as the same sort of thing. I don't know, but I listened to this particular episode because her guest was one Russell T. Davies.
Yeah, that's where they met.
He was
That's where they met, Simon.
He was on for the full hour. That isn't how they met, actually. So I listened to this for the full hour. It turns out that Russell T. Davies, a couple of years ago, gave a speech at Jinx Monsoon's wedding to her husband, his husband. Yeah, so Russell gave a speech at their wedding. Russell has been a friend of Jinx Monsoon's husband, Michael, for many, many years. Michael is an actor who lived and still lives mostly in Manchester. So they were personal friends. And just by coincidence, he was a friend of Michael's all those years before. He met Jinx through Michael and gave a speech at their wedding. So they've known each other for a few years. And this is not something that I believe that is being spoken about in Doctor Who land. Generally.
So this is worryingly sounding like
cronyism.
Jobs for mates, basically. It is beginning to
cronyism.
That's how Russell works. Have you not noticed how he's worked over the last 30 years? Yeah. That's how he's worked. You know, he gives jobs to his pals.
He does. Yeah, to be fair.
I mean,
if we're honest, Chris Eccleston was a mate, and so that was he got cast as
John Barrowman was gay, so John got the role.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
John Barrowman. No, we have drag queens who get their bits out in front of kids. Can we get like John Barrowman back then because he's done less than that?
There's no way those two are going to work together, is there? No way that's going to happen.
It's well past time. JB came in from the cold after all this. Yeah, go on. Sorry, Lee.
I find that a lot of this is presenting stereotypes as a way of hammering this in, and I just think this is not helping inclusion and diversity. There is no diversity and inclusion because people like me, people like JT, people like Simon who speak out are demonized. We are not included in the inclusive and diversity scheme of things. And also I find that this kind of aggressive approach, and it is aggressive, it's very in your face and like, this is what we're doing, you're going to like it or lump it, and you can't force people to like you, okay? And this is like saying you will like us, otherwise you will be outcast. And I find that this isn't going to help in any way promote LGBT people at all. I think all this is going to do is cause us more harm in the long run because the backlash against all this is going to be profound. And I'm going to be one of those like JT and Simon who are going to be at the receiving end of this, even though we were against it, because they're pushing this so hard and so fast that the general public are going to get absolutely exhausted by this. And
Yes.
kids being
That's very
exposed
much
to
the
this kind of
case.
thing. This is a hugely controversial thing at the moment with drag queens and with the trans thing, especially after what happened recently in the school event.
Yeah.
And how that's been dealt with in the media as well, where more people are talking about the victims of the trans people here when 9-year-olds have been shot. You know, I'm sorry, this is not acceptable, and this is not helping us.
People
This
are
is
understandably
badly
very
timed as well.
afraid. Yeah, it's the timing. People are afraid to have these very conversations. You know, it's not easy for us to talk about these things publicly.
No, don't want to be
Ian,
talking about these things.
Ian, how do you feel about all of this? Because you've been quite quiet as well. I know we've done a lot of talking, but you've heard of. I mean, as any of the things that we've said that the guys have spoken about at any end of the spectrum here, has this changed your mind about anything? Or
I'm not really qualified to comment on
Yes,
this.
you are.
I mean, I think not really. I think Simon, JT, and probably
No, just because you're heterosexual, it doesn't mean you're not qualified. You are absolutely qualified to talk about you as well.
JT, I understand, totally understand what you're saying, but I feel that there's no point in me saying anything really, because my heart is broken because I want Doctor Who back, and it's obvious this is where it's going, and I don't really want to be part of Doctor Who if this is where it's going.
Well, it's not if, is it? It is going there. I mean,
yeah. So it's my heart's broken. What else can I say? You know,
I agree with you. I agree with you, Ian. That's how I feel.
Pertwee would be heartbroken. John
Pertwee would be rolling in his grave.
Well,
John.
Talk about rolling in their grave. Absolutely. Some people have begun commenting about this topic. We have, the name, you'll be familiar with the name Anthony Coburn. Anthony Coburn was the scriptwriter of the very first episode of Doctor Who, An Unearthly Child, back in 1963. Doctor Who and the Tribe of Gum, they're the yellowing pages of an original script. And I don't know what some of the stains are. It's probably best if I don't know. But there's the script. Now, obviously, Anthony passed away some decades ago, but his son has taken to Twitter today and shared this. Steph Anthony Coburn posted the ashes of my father, Doctor Who co-creator and TARDIS originator Anthony Coburn, are now oscillating at light speed in his urn in outrage at what generations of progressively more corrupted BBC filth have done with his creation. Had he known, he'd have turned the job down.
Wow.
He's absolutely right. Well done.
That's pretty strong. That's pretty outspoken.
Very
well
strong.
done, Steph.
But you know what?
Absolutely.
He's right wing, so it doesn't count.
No, well, that's the problem. He will be
He's a
seen sadly as a
non-person.
dinosaur, the same as all of us are. But that's
It's not even a dinosaur. It's not even a dinosaur. These people, because we won't agree with them, because we will not comply with their dictates on our lives and our speech, because they label us all. How many times have I seen this now? Everybody's a phobe, an ist, a right wing, or the German words, which I don't believe we're allowed to say on YouTube for some bizarre reason, because it's historically accurate. It happened in the 1940s. They murdered and slaughtered millions. Get over it. So I don't understand why we can't say that. But we are suddenly now bracketed with those people, and it's not. And let me just point out to these extreme left wingers, it's not the right wing that are burning the books or cancelling people or taking their lives away or destroying their lives or getting them homeless or anything like that. It's the left wing. So what does that tell you?
Or turning to terrorism to get their political way. No, it's
getting violent, striking at women, getting them banned, not allowing them to speak, infecting their spaces. It's not the right wing doing that. That speaks volumes to me.
But it's really interesting that comment from Steph. That's really because it just. I have to be honest. I'm really glad you showed that, Dan. I hadn't seen that, and I must be honest. It makes me feel a heck of a lot better because that really connects me back to what I love about Doctor Who, which is an episode such as An Unearthly Child, which is utter brilliance. Russell, why don't you go and watch it again and start thinking about
Simon,
how you
can
can
you
make
guess?
your Doctor Who as good as Anthony Coburn's was.
Can you guess the reception that Steph got for posting this on Twitter?
Oh, I can imagine.
In fact, Spacebookers, listen, if you are a Spacebooker that listens to what we're saying and agrees with what we're saying and you are on Twitter, go and give him a like, Can you bring that up again so we can see where he is? Go and give him a subscription. It's at Steph_Coburn. Go and support him, because we have to stick together on this now, because this is a war. I don't care what anybody
It's time for the
says.
grown-ups to stand up and be counted, because this can't carry on.
And what was the reaction then, Dan? Bad, I'm assuming.
Can you guess,
he was
Simon?
he was every kind of scumbag under the sun. He was
Same as
practically
us.
the
He'll be a
National
phobic,
Socialist from the
right-wing.
1940s. He was one of those. He was everything. He didn't know what he was talking about. All the usual arseholes were out and about.
And it just breaks my heart, because this is the son of one of the people who created
One of the
the
originators.
show. The reason we are now sitting here talking about it, and the
He couldn't
reason
possibly know what he's talking about, Simon, because wisdom isn't a thing. People can't know any better.
Don't they realise that without that man's father,
Of course they don't
they
realise that,
wouldn't
Simon.
have their drag queen in this show.
They don't realise that, Simon, because a lot of these new alleged fans have come on since 2005, and they're spoiled brats who haven't a clue about the world, haven't a clue about the history of Doctor Who, and have been swallowed into this ideology. I mean, look at him. I don't understand why a load of these young people are genuinely terrified of the right wing. Listen, people, you need the right wing and the left wing and the centre, because it's called equilibrium. You have to have a balance. You can't just have one side or the other. We've seen what happens when the right wing takes control.
But you don't.
We are now seeing what happens when the extreme left wing takes
There is-
control. It's the same thing.
There is now received wisdom. There is the correct response to everything, and we all at the moment are giving the incorrect response to all of this.
You will be like us, or you will be deleted.
Yeah.
Hello, Matt.
No, I was just wondering, because do you think I kind of get the sense that RTD has taken ownership of Doctor Who completely?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think, Matt, it's just possible that, I don't know, the power has literally gone to his head? The reintroduction of him for the second innings, which I know I keep saying this, but I spoke out about this 18 months ago and said this was the wrong decision to bring RTD back. Do you think by bringing him back, it has literally gone to his head? The power corrupts absolutely. Do you think it's that?
Yeah, it just seems a whole ownership. He's taking claim to Doctor Who, just because it was successful in that initial, the revamp. He's taken complete and utter ownership of it, and this is what they were trying to.
I'm a massive Russell T Davies fan, but even I'm struggling with some of the decisions he's making now.
But it's like I said at the top of the
show,
show.
the point where he just genuinely thinks he can do no wrong. Whatever decision he makes, it's going to be the correct one. I think we're there.
I've got a quote. I've actually got a quote here from Russell, which I took from that very podcast. So he was talking about writing to Jinx there, and he said that he writes writing. He says writing is like therapy, but it never works. And if it ever did work, we'd stop writing. So he was talking about screenwriting and songwriting and how all writing is a kind of form of therapy.
Yeah.
But he also spoke extensively about how he writes for himself, the things that amuse him, that interest him, and that make him laugh, and that excite him in a very visual, very personal way. Because I'm a big fan of Russell T Davies. I think that Jinx is right. I think he is a visionary, but that doesn't mean. But yeah, exactly. But everybody has their time, and that doesn't mean that he's infallible. He's said
been to America. He's been subsumed. I think over there, he's been. He's always had these elements within his personality, within his upbringing and his beliefs anyway. But when he came back from America, he wasn't the same person.
Yes.
He's had these people buzzing in his ear, and I think it's gotten to him. And I said earlier on, it's rainbow fart sniffing, and it's just gotten to his head. And all he thinks about now is this fight. He talks about it in his responses. This to him is a fight. And I'm sorry, it's not in my name. You're not doing this in my name. And I don't seem to have any say in this inclusive and diverse umbrella that we're supposed to be under.
Because we don't count, do we, anymore? It's not just the fact that he went to America, Lee, although I do agree with you that, but he happened to live in bloody Manchester, one of the wokest LGBTQI cities alongside Brighton
True.
in Britain. You know, it's extra. But you know, it's like I was saying at the top of the show, Matt. What has happened here is Russell is no longer the custodian. He is the owner of Doctor Who. The BBC studios have given it to him. He's brought Bad Wolf on with him. He's got Disney involved now. He is, and each one of those three parties are kissing his arse because they think he still knows what Doctor Who is, like he did back in 2005. They still think he's going to give them a hugely popular 7 to 10 million a week rating in the United Kingdom alone and merchandise sales. I can say now that's not happening because he's just alienated the same people that were alienated through Chibnall and Whittaker. We are going, and the easiest thing people can do is not switch the bloody thing on.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I do. This will. I mean, it depends on how much it breaks through to the mainstream media, and then of course these episodes aren't airing for a year. How much it stays with people. Oh, you know, I heard they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing the other. There will only be so many Daleks that you can push on screen. New shiny Daleks.
As I said before, Dan, though, are not engaged with Doctor Who. They are not interested in Doctor Who. And because of the current climate, which we've touched on right now, the politics of this are now in Doctor Who. They are not going away from Doctor Who. People will not watch this. It's as simple as that.
I want to go back to that initial statement where we've been told that Jinx Monsoon will have a major, times, but in both statements, a major role. Now, obviously, is that in one particular block, in one particular episode? I'd say major role signifies it could be across multiple episodes. But are they playing a drag queen? In which case, you know, why not cast a drag queen to play a drag queen, I suppose. But then again, I'm back to the thing of why have a drag queen in Doctor Who at all?
Why is a drag queen in time and space anyway, for crying out loud? There's not enough makeup out there to sort them out.
But could they be playing an alien being of some kind? You know, we don't know. And I'm reminded, you see, but obviously Jinx Monsoon is what they call in showbiz a turn. And when you book an act, because it's not his real name, he's a drag star, a drag performer. Jinx Monsoon is a creation. And I'm reminded of 2014, when in Peter Capaldi's first season, the singer Foxes appeared in the show in an episode called Mummy on the Orient Express. There, God, she's good looking, Jesus. When she appeared and sang Don't Stop Me Now, the Queen track, as part of that episode. And again, this is another person, like Foxes isn't her real name. This is, again, a performance. This is a character. It's an act. It's an act that they booked to be part of a show. And if, I suppose, again, I play devil's advocate a lot on this show. Playing devil's advocate, if Jinx Monsoon is a similar component to a story, to set a scene, to set a mood, it may not appeal to me, but could they be going down that road? But
who remembers Foxes being in Doctor Who? I was aware of this thing. I mean, I
remember the announcement. JT. It wasn't the loud klaxon that went off yesterday, but they did announce it with some pride. I have no idea what's happened to Foxes.
The public didn't care. Her fans didn't really come in. It didn't have the reaction of, say, Kylie Minogue on Christmas Day, where millions tuned in for Kylie and then sort of stayed for the show after, but not in the same reaction. You know, they did drift, but you know. No, it's not the same sort of thing at all.
I mean, what are they going to do with this Jinx then? Yeah, but I mean, if they're going to make Jinx a drag act, and it's going to be a major character, which is going to be in several episodes or whatever, how is that going to fit in ostensibly a family show? If this person's going to be playing an alien, is that saying that if you're into drag or whatever, you can only be an alien?
I think there's every possibility that Jinx will be a human character and probably a companion over certainly a number of
Captain
episodes.
Jack, a Captain Jack kind of character who may travel.
I don't expect them to make him alien. I'm fully expecting it to be, they pick her up probably from a Manchester drag cabaret or something like that. I don't know. But I'm fully expecting it.
I'll tell you what, though, it could be possible that Jinx is playing the Black Guardian at this rate. That could be the whole thing here.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's not the kind of enlightenment that I'm interested in myself.
But
each to their own. Thank you. Okay, we have a lot of people watching and commenting along on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to get to your comments now. I didn't think this conversation would go on for as long, so I know that if people have got to slip off, then I appreciate if you do need to go, anybody on the panel. But I'm going to get stuck into the comments section now and see what they've got to say, Ian, because obviously these are the punters. They're the license fee payers. Some of you may pay a TV license. Seriously,
why?
I can't recommend you getting rid of it enough. And so they have every right to have their say as well. Maybe they think we're talking out of our you-know-whats, or maybe they agree. We're going to find out by having a look over in the live chat right now. Yes, patience, everybody. I know it's been a long trek. There's so much to say and get into on this. And let's hear your opinions, including the hearty welcome there, Keegan from Crimpling Doubloon. He's a regular in the live chat. It's another klaxon of a different kind going off. Mark Milford speculates today's show may outdo the Doomsday episode. Do you think we've outdone the Doomsday episode, Simon?
I think it's very, very unlikely, to be honest.
Can I just say to Tony L there? Tony L is saying, be critical about the casting of Jinx in Doctor Who, but I think it's a bit unfair to Manchester and calling an entire area woke. It is, Tony. They are ejecting homosexuals, same-sex attracted men and women from Canal Street because we are not TQI+.
Really?
They have ejected lesbians and gay men from Manchester Pride. It is fair, trust me.
I've never been to Manchester properly. I think I've been through there to go to the airport, something like that.
I used to live there. I hate to be setting foot there again, and I have to at some point this year because they don't like gay men or women. It's as simple as that, because the TQIs have taken over Canal Street.
Absolutely. Yeah, heterosexuals, effectively.
Matthew Burrows has joined us here, Matt, and he says, I work in the DBS to protect children and not for them to be sexualized in
What's
in
the
this
DBS?
way. I don't know.
Is that like our social security or something?
I think. Where are you, Matthew?
No,
so
they
let
do
us
checks.
know if you're in the
They
States.
do check some criminal background checks.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
We've got a comment here from the Time Muddler who says, leave the drag queen. It's the man I want. Bring back proper Doctor Who.
Excellent. I like that. That's great. That's cheered me up. Thank you.
Matthew may be going a bit too far here. He says, bring back Chibnall. All is forgiven.
Never.
Just cut the show. Just axe the show. Let it go. Let it die again for another 15 years until somebody responsible turns up that can take it on. Or better still, bring it back when I'm dead and don't get upset.
Is that what you're dressed in right? You're doing a Marty Hopkirk tonight, JT. You look like...
This whole thing.
You're dressed in black in mourning.
We've got this
comment. I've been in mourning for this show since 2018, kid, I tell you.
Mentioning Simon's comment there, you were talking about stunt casting, Simon, and the Time Muddler picked that up on that as well. Stunt casting was a scary symptom of a dying show
Spot
in '89.
on. To be fair, that is exactly really what happened towards the end of the Sylvester McCoy era in particular. There was a lot of stunt casting going on because by then it was lying on its feet. So, I think it is a symptom, to be honest. It's desperation. Let's be honest. It's desperation. They're now clutching at straws, just chuck anything at it.
Just to clarify that as well, you are right. I remember, here I go with my name dropping again, but Nathan Turner once said to me that's exactly what he was doing. But he wanted to work with those people, but he thought, well, they're popular with the public. It might help us. With getting the show out, because he knew the BBC were trying to get rid of it, so he did what he could. But I think this time round, with Russell the Righteous in control, it's just because
Happy birthday, Robert.
Happy birthday, Robert.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Robert. Woohoo!
There's another bit of good news for this show today. Robert's birthday.
Thank you for joining us on your birthday, Robert Payne. Happy birthday from everybody here at Type 14, the people of the panels that haven't been able to make this show. I'm sure they'd send you their best as well. Thank you for all your support and your friendship over the last couple of years. The Time Muddler's coming out with some real bangers. We need this meat today. A lancing of a boil.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
And to rage at the airwaves, my word.
Oh.
People are genuinely angry about this. Some people, not everybody, some people are despondent, some people feel beaten, but there are plenty of people who do feel angry. I was frustrated yesterday. The timing, the wording, everything just seems wrong. It just seems wrong to me. Jack Thursby says I've
mismanaged. Essentially, since the Doomsday thing, that's not how you start the 60th, and this is just an ongoing saga at this point.
I mean,
It makes you wonder what's coming next, doesn't it? And I can guess.
We need some good news now. Picking up on the Doomsday story, I do have it on good authority from a couple of sources now, which I can't name, that Russell hadn't, even though he had signed off on Doomsday as a project, that he hadn't seen the Suze Kempner video.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. He loves it. It's wonderful. It's brilliant. And he didn't stop it or anything like that. I don't think that matters at all. And what you were saying there, Dan, we need some good news now. No, it's too late. Close down the show. It's far too late. We are now in April. And this has been... 1983 was a better celebratory year than this. We got a full-bodied series of good, cracking stories. We got a convention which has just celebrated its 40th anniversary over the last couple of days. We had an exhibition going on. We had a special to look forward to in November. This is a shallow affair this year. In this, the 60th anniversary year, where the production team are trolling its fan base and pushing them away. And I just think it's pathetic. I'm done with this show now. I can't be arsed with this version. It's ridiculous.
Me too. I actually blocked Doctor Who on Instagram. I blocked RTD on Instagram. I just don't want to know anything. And if I see anything pop up, I just immediately dismiss it. I am out. Done.
And this is the final straw. This is the final straw for you then, Lee.
It is, absolutely. I don't care how good the writing is. I don't care how great the production is. I just don't care because I know it's been done for all the wrong reasons. And I can't look past that. I'm sorry, it's too late.
Matthew's saying there as well, you better turn this around with any unit spin-off. Don't be ridiculous. Any spin-off is going to be exactly the same. It's going to, the next Brigadier of Unit could be a drag queen for crying out loud.
Nick Blanders, did you know who my dad is? Stuart? Yeah, no, thanks.
No. Anything that this new team, I'm sorry, I've lost all the faith in them all now. They should know better because they're alleged professionals, but they're being led by this whole agenda, as Ian says. It's all there. It's all coming out now. I think the Whoniverse has stalled before it even reaches television. Because if we're not coming as fans, we're not bringing the public, and the public will not go searching for this on Disney or wherever it is. It's writings on the wall.
The Whoniverse has reached entropy before it's even begun. It's collapsed into a singularity.
Ooh, I wish I'd said that. I'm going to write that down.
Just want to say hello to Peter Harrington and Ada McGeer, two regulars. Good to see you guys.
Hello.
David Hammond's here too with some emojis. I'm not entirely sure what's going on in those emojis, Keegan. Can you clarify what are those emojis I'm looking at?
They're high fives.
Praise.
Are they?
Oh, I thought they were claps.
Yeah, high fives. I would have said
they look like two hands with sex toys.
I thought they were chickens talking to what? I thought they were chickens talking to one another. I'm very confused.
You're weird.
I know. It's somewhat Freudian, maybe. Hail and howdy, one and all, says Darren M. We've got an evening from Sam too. There's so much to see here. Robert Payne's 53 today. Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, sir.
Yeah, good stuff. This should be interesting, says the time scales. I smell Whovians, says Christian.
We can
tell you who do.
We've got an hello here from Bad Wilf. Good to see you here, Wilf. Hope you're okay, mate. Fat TARDIS controversy. Yeah, we're off with that. It sounds like they recorded a Peel session in the 80s. Very angry Whovians. Are we angry? I don't know. Maybe we are.
You could actually say, in all honesty, right now, the 1980s was the last time we got Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, it undoubtedly was.
Well, that's not how I feel about it, but I do understand.
Absolutely how I feel.
I do understand how you feel. And sorry, Matt, what was that?
96 as well. I'm sorry, but 96 was good.
Yeah.
No. 96.
No.
Yeah.
Half human, get in the bin.
That's
Yeah.
death, bro. That's death, bro.
I like Doctor Who the movie. I liked it. I don't get
We know
it.
you liked it, yeah. But there has to be 4 or 5.
I say this. I'm just
He just wants it in
scrolling to see what
widescreen.
people
That's
have
his
got to
problem.
That's
say.
exactly what I want. Definitely.
Now, that's a great point here. We've got Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Hope you're well. Just look at all the people that have been turning off from the BBC's new production of Great Expectations. The public have lost faith in BBC dramas. They want entertainment, not to be preached at. Doctor Who will exactly be the same. Just to let anybody outside the UK know, the BBC spent a small fortune with the partnership with an independent television organisation, or production company rather, on a brand new version of Great Expectations, and overwhelmingly a classic that doesn't need rewritten. So what did they do? They rewrote it and they cast it so that it was diverse and inclusive to reflect the 21st century. In the first 5 minutes, it also had the F word, which I'm not allowed to say on this show, however much I really want to right now. But we're not allowed to say that. And the British public switched off. And this thing starred Olivia Colman. This is the first flop she's been in for quite a long time, actually.
She played Miss Havisham, did she?
What?
She played Miss Havisham.
She did, but the public don't care anymore because
as a drug addict.
It's there's a drag roll, but you know it's really it's a massive failure for them, and they won't learn. They will not learn.
Can I point out as well, when I mentioned that I blocked Doctor Who on Instagram and I blocked RTD on Instagram, there were a few comments in the chat that said they'd done the same thing. So it's not just me. So I just want to say solidarity. Thank you.
Yes, and I will be doing that very soon as well.
That's a very, very sobering confession. To hear you say, because I unliked the official social media accounts. Probably about a year into Jodie Whittaker's tenure, I thought I just had enough of this nonsense. I signed up to them all again when Russell came back, and I switched on notices when she finally went. I nearly swore there as well. Zach Eck says Jinx in drag identify as she, her, out as they, them.
Who cares? I mean,
I'm glad you could join us. I don't understand that message particularly.
Gay bloke in a dress.
No offense is intended, but I am a middle-aged man now. I don't care about any of this stuff.
You know what, though, Jags Q? Dan might not offend you, but I don't care. I will. Personal pronouns are part of the labeling that Simon was talking about before. They are irrelevant, and they are never going to be accepted. And that's the end of it. I avoid anybody that uses personal pronouns because they are not quite right in the head, and they've subscribed to something which is political and they haven't done the right research on it. It is very homophobic and very misogynistic. It's as simple as that. So thank you for joining us. But there you go.
No, I stand. Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to be informed about that because I know that I don't particularly like it. I don't think it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. As you said, Simon, labels. Everybody's so keen to slap labels on themselves. A bad wolf says Doomsday is the 160th thing Russell T Davies hasn't posted on his personal accounts. He hates it. That's certainly what I've heard.
Jack Thursby's also saying, watch the Doctor Who magazine fail all over again. Jack, you know that I am a big merchandise queen. Up until the last few years, I've actually loved a lot of the merchandise. I've really been looking forward to some of the stuff that's coming. And you're right. I fear, as I said earlier, I fear for things like the licensees now, because yet again, they're going to be spending an awful lot and investing an awful lot of time, effort and finance into producing glossy bits of plastic and books and all this. And we, the fan base, are not going to buy it. You cannot aim this stuff, as the Chibnall and Whittaker era proved, at younger people because they just are not affluent as some of us are. And when we stop buying it, they suffer. So I feel now for all these businesses that are currently negotiating their licenses.
There are some comments that are in the...
Just to add to that, yeah, so I got a slight lag going on here, so that's why it sounds like I'm jumping in and I'm... yeah, as JT's saying, that's true, because I was going to dive feet first in to get those Tom Baker vinyls. Not anymore. And I love Tom Baker, and I am gutted that I'm making this decision, but I feel so strongly about this now.
Yes,
I have to
yes.
put my foot down. I am not buying anything Doctor Who related at all anymore. As much as I would love that, as much as I'm a huge Tom Baker fan, I'd love to have that signed copy of the vinyl records, and you know, it's 100 whatever it was quid, and I'm like, I was going for it. I was going for it, and then this happened. I'm like, no, I just can't even. I just get so mad about it.
Understand. GJD's comment there at all. Again, I'm going to go back to my early point. No, we do not have to wait.
I'm going to read this one out. So this is from GJD, who says Jinx is really talented and funny, potential to be a really good character. We have to wait and see. I don't think it's fair to judge just because they are a drag queen. We will have to wait and see. Thank you for the comment, GJD. That's not the reason why we've been judging, though, and we're not necessarily judging Jinx as a person or as an entertainer in their own right. I hope that that's come across during the course of the conversation over the intervening time between then and now. Thank you for your comment, obviously.
And let's just reiterate as well, GJD, at least 3 of us on this panel have experience of cabaret. At least 3 of us on this panel have worked with cabaret. I have worked with some of the greats. Has PB. I'm sure Simon's come across some of them as well. If not working with them, has actually had interaction with them, because that's our culture. That was where we grew up in the past. So it's nothing to do with the Cabaret Act itself. It's the message that comes along with the bigger picture, which is all down to the TQI ideology that Russell is now enforcing into our beloved show. And quite frankly, it has no place in there. It has no place in any television show except something that's tailored around that subject in a drama or a documentary, because television is there to entertain everyone, especially the BBC, which has a responsibility to the viewing public of the United Kingdom, and it should be impartial. And we now know, over the last 5 years, especially right up to the current day, the BBC is no longer impartial. We know this, and it's been hit by challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. It really winds me up.
Yep, 100%.
You know, I know that you guys have, you know, you have it on the BBC, so it doesn't affect you as much because it'll always be there. But I've got it on Disney Plus, and I'm actually, as soon as the 60th anniversary, the 3 specials are being shown, I'm actually cancelling my subscription. I'm actually finishing it. It's gone. I don't watch anything on it. I was keeping it for Doctor Who. That was it. I'm not watching it anymore.
I must be honest. I've kind of got. I mean, as everybody knows, I've spoken out many times about I'm against Russell T Davies. I'm against David Tennant coming back. I know I'm alone in that, but I don't think
you're alone, Simon.
Well, there's not many of us, certainly. I feel like I'm being a bit of a grump when I say I'm against David Tennant coming back, but I am. I still think it's a disastrous move for the 60th year. Yeah, the public will love it, but it's not what I personally wanted as a fan. And I have been going along saying, okay, yeah, I will give this a go. I'll give it a fair old shot. I'll give it a chance. I really am. As time goes on, I am getting so worn down by Doctor Who. This is a tough show to love at the moment. It's gone through this in the past. It went through it for me personally in the late 80s. I found it a difficult show to love then and to defend. And it's really difficult to be a Doctor Who fan, I think, these days. And I'm just finding it harder and harder. And I probably, at this rate, I'm not even sure I'm going to watch these David Tennant specials.
I'm the same as you. Yeah.
I'm not watching.
I've been completely unconvinced so far by Ncuti Gatwa's casting. Nothing that is coming up in modern Doctor Who is making me think, okay, yeah, well, we've at least got that to look forward to. No, I've got 0. There is 0 that I'm looking forward to in Doctor Who at the moment. And I'm seriously thinking, do you know what? I think my time might just be done on Doctor Who. And I'm going to just stick with my classic show up until the end, up until Survival. And you know what? You can keep the rest. I'm just kind of done with it. It's bored me.
Simon, you are not alone. You are not. I think a lot of us are like that, and even some of the ones that have come through in the new series, I have seen that. I've had messages from people saying they don't recognise it because, of course, this isn't even like their Doctor Who, which was Eccleston and Tennant and Smith. It's not even the same thing.
I don't know
can
whose
see-
show this is. I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
show
can
it
see
is.
the change. You can literally see the change coming from the end of Capaldi, really, into where the mess that they're in now. So you are not alone. I'm quite happy to say to a lot of us, maybe it's time we grew up and we got on with paying the mortgages and the rents and the bills and worrying about real life and just leaving it with whoever wants to be, because there isn't an audience there for it now. It's a minute audience. Let it flop with them. And we just enjoy 63 to 89 and celebrate that version of Doctor Who, the proper Doctor Who, that did 26 years of groundbreaking, continual changing stories and series with wonderful leads, wonderful production teams. And that's the 60th anniversary we should be celebrating, because New Who, and we can't really call it that now because it's 18 years old, it's old and dull and tired, isn't giving anything except controversy, and it's being done deliberately.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
Ian, you're probably the least political person that I know. I know you've got your views, but you know you keep a lot of your views to yourself, not in a sinister way, but you've just got quite a live and let live kind of attitude. And we've got a comment here from Sam in the live chat who says, "I'm not right wing anything, but I'm not this wing." It's that, you know, because like I say, you know, when I said earlier on that I saw this announcement, I knew that it just didn't feel right. You know, I'm not against drag artists, the drag world, that kind of performance. But I just know it's not right. I mean, do you see what Sam means here?
Yeah, I do. But the thing is, though, it's more than. If they have a drag queen in Doctor Who, so what? Do you know what I mean? I don't give a toss, really. Let's face it. But it's beyond Doctor Who now. You know, Disney's trying to groom kids. Now this version of Doctor Who's trying to give this stuff to kids and stuff like that, and I think that's insidious, and that's the reason why I think everything's going to crap if they carry on like this. It's beyond Doctor Who now. The things they're
you think
doing.
the public, Ian, will see this and see an alignment, as Simon kind of pointed to, with the very controversial Drag Time Story Hour organisation, which
Actually,
is
that was me. That was me that brought it up.
I think so. As I said, look, I'm brokenhearted, right? Not because they've cast this guy in the show. I'm just brokenhearted by everything that's been happening with Doctor Who so far. And it did start off with Capaldi, I must admit. It started off with Capaldi, and I'm just brokenhearted that they're not going to give us Doctor Who back. Let's face it, this is not Doctor Who. It's not Doctor Who at all. And right, everybody knows I'm against race swapping. And when they immediately cast a woman as the Doctor, my heart sunk. And it was the same thing with when they Shooty was announced as the Doctor, my heart sunk, because I know where it's going. I suspected where it's going, and unfortunately, I've been proved right where it's going. So I'm kind of going to step back a bit now. I must admit, I am going to be curious. I'm going to see the David Tennant ones, and I'm going to see the first episode of Shooty. And if it doesn't take, I'm out. I'm gone. You know.
Good for you. Can I just point out you put something up there as well that I just want to point this out. Somebody mentioned Danny LaRue.
Yes.
I need to make the distinction here, Matthew. I met Danny LaRue, and I'm very proud to be able to say that. But I met him at a party, and somehow I managed to bring into the conversation, I thought he was a marvelous drag queen. I can't remember what he said. And if looks could kill, I would not be here now, because Mr. LaRue turned to me and he said, "Dear boy, I am not a drag queen. I am a female impersonator." And I was put in my place swiftly, professionally, and firmly, and I felt myself reduce in size as this giant of show business metaphorically belittled me in front of hundreds of people. Now, I do know.
Have you ever heard of Danny LaRue, this gentleman that JT is talking about?
Never.
Go and Google him. Go and Google him.
YouTube him.
I know he was actually quite gentle about the thing, because, you know, he pinched my cheek afterwards and he winked at me. But the difference there is, pinch and bracket, Danny LaRue were not drag queens. They were female impersonators.
And Lily Savage, too, because they were a character. They were a real character. They're not miming to songs. They're not doing cabaret acts per se. They are embodying a character as playing a woman. Lily Savage has a whole backstory, has a full character, has, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Savage
the
was an
whole
ex-prosy from
Sister-
Birkenhead that had been
Sister
doing
Veal.
time and
Yeah.
shoplifting all the time. She was fantastic, but she was a character because that wasn't Paul.
Yeah.
There
Female
are
impersonator.
differences with that. So if anybody tells you that Gianni LaRue was a drag queen, please correct them, because he'd be rolling in his grave right now. And he had enough problems going on at that time when I was lucky enough to meet him. He really did. Anyway, but never mind. That's another story.
I want to say hello to Gary Lee, the legendary Gary Lee. Yeah, I am.
Hi, Gary.
Like Gary Lee's watching in the live chat and says, however you look at it, Jinx Monsoon is Russell T Davies Ken Dodd moment, and how well that entire season turned out. Gary, you're not up to speed, mate. Delta and the Bannermen, everybody knows, is my favourite story.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't even know who Ken Dodd was.
You were going to
when I
mention
saw
that.
it.
Well, the thing is, Matt, in Britain, Doddy was a huge star.
I know that now.
Huge star. He was
I
massive.
saw him at
And-
Wimbledon.
I saw. Did the show you saw him go on for about 5 years? I think mine did.
Yeah, well,
But
I
he was-
loved it.
He was a major star. He was incredibly talented, and we knew who we were. Nobody knows who this act is, apart from a small minority that watched that old Crohn's show. I mean, the British public are not going to know about this, and when they start publicising it, it's going to be part of the ongoing backlash that's happening now.
Can I ask-
Dottie never got that.
Can I ask a question? So this guy, he was on the RuPaul's show.
The Crohn's show, yes.
He won it.
Okay,
if you don't
right,
mind.
so-
He won it.
Hold on. So this show was very popular. I mean, even my nieces watched it. For
Yeah,
some
but it's
reason.
not
So
science
it
fiction,
is
though.
quite
To
popular.
put it in context, Ian, when you say it's very popular, no.
No, hold on. No, hold on. It was because I mean,
I know
like-
someone who works on that as well.
Yes, I'm saying so. Even they were talking about it in school and stuff like that, and there were
Well,
a lot of
well,
And they
depends
shouldn't
what you
be.
mean by
They should
popular.
not be.
It depends on
I
what you mean by
just assume.
popular. It had got a few 100,000 viewers.
Well, I don't. Well, Simon, I don't know. I'm just saying that.
No.
from the young kids that I know, they knew the show. That's all I'm saying.
That's
Yeah,
why they're pushing it with them, because that's why they're hiring these people, Ian, because it has a small following
Yeah.
on whatever it was on before, whether it be Netflix or whatever
It's-
in this country.
it's also-
And now
it's-
free.
It's also one of those shows that a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
But not many people actually watch. An awful lot of people know about RuPaul's Drag Race. But you ask them if they've seen an episode, and they probably won't have done. Or they might have seen the first 10 minutes of it and then tuned it out. It's not a hugely popular show. It's
This
just
is a
well-known.
dog chasing its own tail. It's
Yeah.
trying to replace the old guard fandom. And the reason why Doctor Who was successful in the first place was because it was a family show. The dad and the mum would raise the kids would watch it, they would grow up, they would raise their kids watching it, and so on and so forth. What this has done effectively under Chibnall primarily and now RTD seemed to be they want to get rid of that, replace us completely with this brand new fandom that's going to materialize out of thin air, this Netflix generation or whatever it is, more interesting computer games, let's be honest. And this LGBT hugely, yeah. And it's a fantasy. And these people are fly by night. They are not long-term science fiction fans.
No.
These are people who have issues that they want to feel part of a gang, and they're going to be in because it's trendy. But when it's not trendy anymore, what's going to happen? What's going to happen then? What about the longevity of the show? You've alienated
They're
people
playing
who
the long
are
game, Lee.
intrinsically Doctor Who fans.
Fine game.
And when you remove that and you replace them with this trendy new audience who have
Lee,
the first clue about Doctor Who, they're going to be gone the minute it's not.
They're playing the
you know,
long game,
hit
Lee.
anymore.
Well, what's the long game?
The long game is to actually get everyone used to this kind of stuff in TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So they're basically, I hate to use the word groom, but they're basically trying to make the kids get used to these things in TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So they're playing the long game. So when they grow up,
as drag artists,
Yeah.
Part of the community,
Yeah, but
the
they're
way
not gonna
that
have kids.
Butcher the Baker, the candlestick maker, would have been back in the day. We've got a comment here from Gary Lee who reminds us that I heard about this, that there's recently been a drag queen added to the cast of EastEnders, and according to Gary, who's watching on YouTube there, it's not gone down too well. It's gone down like a cup of cold sick, I think that emoji is. And so was
Colin
that a
Salmon's
permanent
in
character?
EastEnders now, isn't he? Colin Salmon.
I tell you what, EastEnders, I think I said this on Twitter, EastEnders getting a class act like Colin Salmon really did surprise me. But it can't offset decisions like that. Was the drag queen, was that a regular character as well? Does anybody know? Or did it?
No
Was it somebody who just came in and out?
No, it's they haven't had a drag queen up until now. That's why I said at the top of the show, this is a rare opportunity for the BBC to show us a drag queen, because drag queens seem to be on absolutely everything the BBC are doing. Gary Lineker will probably get up in drag at some point because it's politically correct for Match of the Day. Let's see how his audience likes that, if he ever comes back to it, if he wants to bother, allegedly, he says quickly. So, it's all this sort of stuff coming on. I mean, it's just utter nonsense. You can see through the BBC. And thank God I don't have a license.
It's a virtue signal. It's just a virtue signal. It's there because it's de rigueur. It's the trend of the moment, and it's so important to be seen. I'm so tired of being seen. I don't want to be seen. I want to disappear. I just want, as a gay man, and I think a lot of people who are like me, just want to get in life and not even really be noticed purely by dint of who we choose to sleep with or who we are oriented.
Well, it's like it's like I said earlier. We're back to these labels again, and I just fight against labels.
I really want to.
Infuriating.
I just want to escape the real world for once. That'd be fantastic, please.
So many comments in the live chat from Facebookers watching this saying, I just want my comic books and my TV shows. I just want to switch off after work. This is my show.
And you know
I just
what
want to
people do too? We don't want to be seen all the time. We don't want everyone's face to be rubbed in like, look how gay we are.
And you know what, guys?
It's so annoying.
Facebookers, to do that, what you're going to have to do, if you haven't already got them, and if you haven't got them, I don't know why, you have to invest in the 1963 to 1989 series, whether it be on Blu-ray or go and get the original DVDs, because they are going to take you out of the real world, because they didn't preach. I don't care what anybody says. They did not preach at all.
They were not woke.
Stories. Yeah, if you want escapism, you can't look at the reboot Who, which is now old Who. You've got to go back to the original Who, which had the art of being able to tell a story. It's as simple as that.
There's a big difference between being topical and being political. Every time some prat on Twitter puts, "Oh, Doctor Who's always been political," absolute nonsense. The Time Scales asks, where are social media comments being censored? It's for the message Time Scales. They're being censored
as well.
Absolutely everywhere. Instagram too, Matt. Twitter, yes. Just to go back on this, I think I mentioned it earlier on. Twitter, and I wouldn't have believed this had I not seen it with my own two eyes. Somebody had to draw my attention to this. Thousands of comments on the official social media account, but on Twitter, thousands of comments seem to have been removed. I've been told, I've been shown how you can denote that now on Twitter. I wasn't aware this was a thing until this last 24 hours. So thank you. You know who you are, the person who's told me about this.
And do you know what made me laugh on Twitter today? There are loads of people coming on to say, on the account of this drag queen coming on especially, isn't it wonderful to see that everybody's acceptable of this? So I've actually gone back onto them and said, well, they weren't if you were here this time yesterday. They've all been taken off. And they won't believe me. They won't believe it. Oh, no. Everybody's... It's utter nonsense. It really is.
Because it's curated. It's purely curated. The whole thing has been... it's so 1984. It's dystopian. The levels that these people will go to lie about how popular this is, because they cannot handle the truth. They cannot handle reality. They don't like the audience. That's why they're trying to rid themselves of this toxic, evil audience that they don't really want in the first place. Because apparently now the entire Doctor Who community is now the Q word, the vast majority of them, because everyone else is censored. Now, if you have to lie and censor any dissent, you are not the good guys. It's that simple. And if you're doing that to the fandom, do not expect us to come flocking back. End of story.
I just want to say that I do like New Who. I do like the Russell T. Doctor Who going up.
I adore it. I do.
Yeah,
I adore it.
Matt
myself.
Smith. So, I do.
Well, don't
like
let anyone
it.
take that away from you.
They're not.
That's
they're
there.
not. I've got my Blu-rays. I got my Blu-rays.
Raymond Williams says here, Ian, the promotion and the quality of the first 3 episodes of Series 14 will determine if RTD2 succeeds or fails. Keegan, do you think it will be that immediate? Yeah, we think it will be that first few weeks is going to be all important, and that modern audiences maybe won't hang around say 5 or 6 episodes into an 8 episode run. What do you think?
It's hard to say. I mean, a lot of people aren't excited at the minute as it is, and I can't see it lasting.
Why do you think that is? Is it because it seems so far in the future, or at this point?
Yeah, but to do with the casting and whatnot, I don't think anyone's excited.
It is really
I
strange.
have to say,
I can't believe that we are sitting here in the 60th anniversary year. Let's just keep reminding ourselves of that. And here we are. You know, we've just recovered from Doomsday. We've now got this. Whether you like the idea of a drag act in Doctor Who or not, we just shouldn't even be discussing this. We should be excited. Why are they not giving us the stuff that is exciting us? Listen, you think back to 1983 that I think JT you mentioned earlier on. And throughout that whole year, we were excited because the stuff we were being told was exciting. Listen, Russell, please, I pray you're watching this. Trust me. Telling us that a drag act is going to be in a new series of Doctor Who as a major character, it's not exciting. I don't know how to get this through to you. Giving us good Doctor Who, that's going to be exciting. But a drag act, it's just not going to cut it, mate. Trust me.
Too late for him. It's too late for him now. And again, going back to 1983, which I, as a 13-year-old, I enjoyed every second of that year because, yes, we had a good season. Season 22 is a good, season 20, rather, is a good, enjoyable season. Davison finding his feet and running with it. Great monsters. I know some people have an issue. I love that season. You had the 5 Doctors announced. Wow, that was going to be brilliant. We had Longleat, if you got there. You had the Blackpool exhibition. You had the Longleat exhibition. John Nathan Turner knew what he was doing to celebrate that 20th anniversary, and he did it beautifully. And this year, in the big 6-0, not a patch on
it is bizarre how we're kind of saying a drag queen is the big thing that's helping us celebrate the 60th anniversary. And Doomsday a couple of weeks ago, that was for the 60th anniversary. And what are they on? Do they not realise why we watch Doctor Who? And it's not for Doomsday. And
it makes you wonder.
It's like your point. It's like your point, Dan, on one of the tech. I think it was last week. I can't remember, but I think it was last week where you said even in the 50th year, which was a bit wet. Let's face it, considering 1983 was massive. The 50th year was a bit wet, but we got John Hurt. Yes, okay, he was playing a very boring, unoriginal character and shoehorned in when he could have been a wonderful villain. But that's another story. But we got John Hurt. Now we're getting Sue's blah, 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 and we're getting Monsoon, and we're getting all the... Oh, please, grow up, people.
I like the 50th.
Can I just say as well, the comment when I was in Instagram protesting it, all I said was, I'm pretty much done with it. And I did get an awful lot of comments, and the vast majority of them were saying the same sorts of things, which were casting her... This is a quote. Casting her will piss off both the transphobes and the drag haters. And another one said, because people often hate them for the same reasons, bigots rarely hate one without the other. So this is it. Any form of criticism of this is deemed as transphobic or whatever, or and bigoted and all the, because they've already got the predisposed answers. It's already
I couldn't believe my eyes when I was called transphobic for not liking a drag act.
You will be like us, or you will be deleted. This is the mindset. They are more like the Cybermen than they are the Doctor.
Yeah, and as we've said here from Russell's own Instagram thing, the fight goes on. He's prepared to destroy Doctor Who just to get his own message through, just like Chibnall was. There is no change.
I don't think he sees it that way, though, does he, Jason?
Of course he doesn't, because I've said before, we're in the wrong. We're the right wingers. We're the nasty ones. We're the ones that will not comply. We're the ones that need to be dealt with. We need to be put in our chicken pen and caged. We will do what they tell us. That's what I'm saying. The left wing are now the new right wing.
Yeah. I mean, here's a thought. Do we come to the conclusion? Do we come to the natural conclusion from all of this, from 2 hours of this, that the future of Doctor Who is not making good adventure stories, for want of a better word? It is actually just about tokenism and agendas. Is that the conclusion we come to?
Seems so.
That's really bleak.
Seems that way, doesn't
Have to
it?
wonder.
Outlook.
Yeah, it seems that way. Doesn't it?
Are we surprised though? Because that's exactly
We're
what
not
happened in the
surprised.
Chibnall era.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I know, but we get. I mean, as much as I spoke out against Russell coming back, we all, I think, me included, thought, no, he surely won't be so
Yes, we did.
That was the hope.
as to double down on this.
that was the hope.
Yeah,
And he has, my reasons for Russell not wanting to come back. Let me say that again. My reasons for me personally wanting Russell to come back were nothing to do with him doubling down. It was because I just thought it was a backward step. It wasn't what the 60th anniversary needed, etc. Whereas I think if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said, no, he surely won't double down. He will see the mistakes that the Chibnall era has made, and he's not stupid. Russell is not stupid. He's a professional man. He cares about his reputation and his career.
But he's surrounded by yes men.
And he won't double down.
He does care about his track record, his legacy almost. He does care about that.
He doesn't. He clearly doesn't, Dan. Because if he did, he would realise that he's now currently in the process of shooting himself in the foot with Doctor Who. And
when you have
if he fails on Doctor Who, on his second take on Doctor Who, if he fails, his career is seriously damaged. Seriously.
And if you think about it, with all the comments being erased by Twitter and Instagram, which is collusion in my mind, that's corporatism and state power and elitism. It's fascism, effectively.
It is.
And
it is fascism.
If that's all he's getting is this affirmative yes nodding, and everyone's going yes, slay queen, all this kind of stuff. And if that's all he sees, then that of course he's going to think, yeah, I'm onto a winner here, just like Chibnall did. Because that's all they see.
But Chibnall, my point being that Chibnall now knows he failed. I don't think he can be in any doubt at all that he failed.
No.
How is Russell going to feel if this fails? And we can't guarantee that it's going to fail yet. Maybe he's going to pull a blinder on us.
I think it's going to fail. I think we can say
I think it's going to fail as well. But as I say, I'm prepared to give it the chance, and maybe it won't fail. But Chibnall now, it's categorically, I think nobody's in any doubt it failed, including
name me
how
one
is
thing.
Russell? So
Name
the
me
point
one
I'm making
thing.
is, how is Russell going to feel when this fails? Is his ego going to carry him through?
Of course it is. We're the ones in the wrong. We are the one.
But even JT, when it is failing, like the Chibnall years has failed,
blame the right wing.
And the viewing figures are falling off because Chibnall and the BBC must know the Chibnall era failed.
Yes, they do.
So Russell will know that his era has failed as well. So how will he then feel?
Can anyone name me one thing that's gone woke and didn't go broke? Name one series that went woke and was a success.
No.
Even the new X-Files reboot, which hasn't even seen paper and pen yet, has failed because it's going to be diverse casting. It's failed. No bugger's going to watch it. Why bother? We can tell you that now. Don't
What about
spend
She-Hulk?
Exactly. But the problem is, Sam, with that, what you're asking there, no, we won't care because we're all on the wrong. And what they'll do is just blame the right wing. They'll blame the ists and the phobes, and he will carry on. But what he should do is he could do this, as I said earlier, he can put all this in his own drama like it's a sin and do something about trans people. Or do something
Good luck to you. Brilliant.
But he won't do that because nobody will watch. But what could happen is they may come and watch the odd episode of Doctor Who, but I can tell you, as soon as he starts preaching, they'll switch off and they won't go back to it. And to answer that point before, I don't think that... there was something to do there about coming back for Tennant and going back for... Well, who said that? And then going back for Shooty. I don't think they're going to. For the simple reason that, nobody knows in the public who Shooty Gatwa is, really. And nobody knows who the new girl is, really. And then you're going to get all this.
They're
and
famous, but not famous, yeah.
Yeah, from what we've seen today... The media are going to crucify the next version, whether it's Russell T Davies or not, just like they did with Chibnall. But it is interesting as well, Lee, that with all these erased comments coming through, is that because the media tend to go through picking up the comments of fans and putting it on their papers and their headlines the next day? Interesting.
Could be. Glenn Piper speculates maybe if they show a pic of a new monster that they'll be using it and make the fans feel happy. I think we need to see something pretty damn quick.
I don't think
that's what I've been
late.
talking about. That's the kind of stuff that will start getting us excited. No,
I think it's too late. I'm not going to get excited by this next version.
Oh no, I agree.
From his outfit, for Shooty's outfits, to this, the insistence that trans people are going to be in it, to the insistence that a drag queen's going. Too late for me. I don't care what the new Daleks.
And
look
this
like.
is only
I don't
April.
care what the Cybermen look like. I've gone. I'm not interested.
JT,
It's
it could be
April.
worse.
We're not even down the line yet. I mean, this just 2 things now that have been announced in the 60th year. It's April. What else is down the line? We have no idea. This could be just.
We've also had
many,
redacted and
many
Doomsday as well,
plans.
Lee. You've had redacted and Doomsday also, as well as the casting coming here, and as well as all the look of it. I mean, you know, even if they release the new interior TARDIS now, I can't see many of us like me. Yes, we'll have a look. Oh, that's pretty. Or actually, that doesn't look. Whatever. It's not going to guarantee us going back to the show.
Well, the problem is, of course, whatever they now announce, we've got Doomsday for a start-off hanging over us as a threat. And we've now got Spoon to look forward to. So whatever they do now, we're kind of dreading it. So it's bound to fail now.
At least we don't have to buy into it, though. I am keeping my money very firmly in my bank account. Thank you.
Yeah.
100%. Please like the video.
Not spending anymore.
Please like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check you're still subscribed. We've had a lot of people watching tonight. Thank you, everybody. And for all the comments. We've tried to keep up. There's been so many. And, you know, I can see generally the lay of the land is, I thought we'd get more people telling us to, you know, chill up, chill down, chill down, grow up. And wait and see what this person does.
Going on in fandom. Sorry, Dan. We are reflective. I mean, for the second time in a week.
People have been worn down, JT. People have been worn down by a succession of underwhelming announcements, things we're supposed to be excited about that we simply can't be.
Yeah, we're not interested at all. And I guarantee there'll be all this hype bringing back Tennant and Tate of those 3 episodes. And yes, I'm sure people will watch. I certainly know the public will watch. But the moment that he starts preaching or bringing on a Meet the Beep and drag, people will switch off. And I can't see them coming back, even on Christmas Day, because of what's been happening with the BBC on Christmas Day for the last 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is. I can't see them doing that. The British public especially, they're not stupid, and they think they are, and they're not.
That's it. Doctor Who was successful because it was written for intelligent 10-year-olds. Now it's written for dumb 20-year-olds, and that's the big difference. And you're trying to conflate the excitement of a bunch of extremists on Twitter with pronouns in their bios for actual bums on seats. And I think you're totally misjudging the mood of the country. And it is a nationwide thing. It is a British show. That's the people you want on board. The working class particularly have been sidelined in this culture war because they didn't behave as the radical left wanted them to. They've been replaced by an intersectional new underclass. That's who they're pandering towards, and there's simply not enough of them. And you peed off too many who are just working class people, average people, people in the middle, people in the right, people on the left, who are not on board with the extreme fringe radical left, who are pushing this agenda, and people are just simply not on board, not in the numbers that they need to watch this show and make it
absolutely
and buy stuff.
And guess what, Lee? Next year in the United Kingdom is a general election, and guess where the BBC is heading with that one, and guess what will happen with any subsequent issues of Doctor Who, because Russell is very much in a certain camp. Unbelievable. I never thought I'd get to see.
He used Paul O'Grady's death. He used Paul O'Grady's death to write a political statement as well. That was
I did see
outrageous.
that. I mean, I did include a tribute to Paul O'Grady in the.
Still.
Yeah.
I did include a tribute to Paul O'Grady in the mid-season break episode of Type 40 Live last week, and I did see the statement that Russell, the full statement that Russell made, and I didn't want to dignify that with. I didn't want to put that out there. It seemed disrespectful to Paul's. I didn't know Paul O'Grady. No, I don't. Maybe he would. I don't know how Paul would have felt about that, but it didn't seem right to me. It wouldn't have been our place to share that.
Lee would know as well as I do. O'Grady was LGB. He didn't like all the extra acronyms, and he would say that quite forcefully in private. He didn't like all the alphabet. coming on to LGB, so we've got enough letters with LGB, and he carried on, and carried on. He wasn't in for all that. So although he was a staunch Labour supporter up to a point in recent years, I gather, he wouldn't have held with certain issues.
Matthew Burrow says,
certainly not homophobic ones.
No,
this comment is just confirming what we hear a lot from our co-host Kyle Wagner on the Type 40 podcast. Matthew Burrow says the show is dead in the States. They can't give it away at the moment. This is make
that's
or
why
break.
they brought this drag queen in.
Yeah.
American.
because actually, JT's got a point, because to answer Ian your comments from earlier about the success of RuPaul Drag Race, as I understand it, the American RuPaul Drag Race is far more popular than the British one than it ever is in Britain.
Yes, it is, and that's why they've done it. Because look, if you go and look now, Simon and Ian, if you go and look at the social media. But if you go and look at the social media, all you'll see is what PB was saying earlier: "Slay Queen, that's my queen." Oh, piss off, you mini Nancy's! It's absolutely ridiculous.
As for making it in America, I mean, at the moment, nobody knows really. Nobody generally knows, despite 2 million people following on Instagram.
That's why he's brought this drag queen on.
A lot of people
to appeal to American audiences.
Well, a lot of people still, they couldn't pick out Ncuti Gatwa if they saw him in a bus queue. That could change this year if the Barbie movie is successful. Here's the character poster for Ncuti Gatwa as he's playing one of the
IMCA.
Now, I think that in all sincerity, I think this movie could be a lot of fun.
How can they do it about the doll, though? I don't get it.
No, I don't really get it either, but I do think it looks like it could be fun. Margot Robbie's in it, Ryan Gosling's in it, Michael Cera's in it, and Ncuti Gatwa's in it too. Rita Aya's in it. I adore her. So this could be a giggle. But it was weird to see this character poster appear with Ncuti there with that blonde hair from last year. And I hope the film does well. I hope it raises his profile, because it does look like it could be a laugh. Because the original one, Greta Gerwig, is just the latest of many people who've tried to make that Barbie movie. Really? They were going to make it they were going to make a woke version of that a few years ago, like a sort of a very feminist orientated version of it. This looks like they're embracing the fun of an icon.
Do you know what, though? You're not going to get adults and little boys going to see that, are you?
No, you're not.
But how long before he comes out as non-binary? Do you think they're waiting for this to happen? I'm genuinely asking.
I have no. Well, one of the things I like about Ncuti so far, Ncuti doesn't doesn't talk about his personal life at all. And I do think that is, and I am hoping that does stay, because he's got this mystique and this aura and this starry quality around him. I've still got a good feeling about Ncuti.
Really?
So I have
even
him
after
personally.
what's been going on over the last few weeks.
Yeah, but I haven't heard anything from him. I quite like what he's.
Isn't he? He's absolutely part of it.
He's a high. Yeah. Well, he gives. He's given the scripts. He goes out, says his lines. Don't bump into the monsters. That kind of thing, as McCoy used to say. And so I see no reason for me to think any different of Ncuti yet. If he comes out with something I find deplorable or whatever, I might change my mind. But at the moment, he's an actor. He's a turn, and I quite like the costume. I haven't seen him act in anything, as I've said. I think I've said that to all of you. So I remain pretty upbeat about Ncuti himself, but obviously if it's just him shining like a really bright star in the middle of a total mist, it won't really matter how good he is. Matthew Burrow says, bye-bye panel, you're spot on.
Hi, Matthew.
Vote JT. People still talk about Doomsday. And the Time Muddler, who's dropped some real bangers in the chat, says the two cast announcements this week have made me question the very foundations of the franchise's future. There's a bit too many F's in that comment for me, but I made it through in the end anyway. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought we'd get through over 2 hours talking about this? Sorry, Simon.
Yeah, I said 1 hour.
He's going to stop talking to me
about this for 2 hours.
I told you to.
You did tell me to. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this show. It's been a big one. We've aired a lot of things on this show. I know there's plenty of things that aren't going to play well out there, but when do they ever? Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, has always been free speaking and big thinking. We accept other opinions are available, and no offense is ever intended. But these things do need to be spoken about, and there are adults in the room. We may all be big kids, but we're adults too. And if we don't say this stuff, if we don't draw these parallels, if we don't put things open, leave things open to debate, I'm starting to feel like in the Doctor Who community, who will? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check to see if you're still subscribed, and hit the cloister bell so you get notifications about what's coming next and when it's coming. Could be if you've enjoyed this video, more videos, lots more videos. There's podcasts in video form here. Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast. That's the chat that we had with John Green, the mastermind behind Daleks 6388. Loved that, Simon. People do seem to be liking that one. There was Type 40 Live, obviously, our regular weekly live stream magazine show there, Seeing Red. That was the episode where I had a pop at Chibnall again. My God. And there's these videos too, Type 40 Extra, when new stories break or other things happen, or I just fancy chewing the fat, or somebody's got a bee in their bonnet. We come here and we talk about whatever's breaking on Type 40 Extra. So look out for all of that. And there are episodes of the podcast too across all major podcatchers. This is just a sample. This is just the latest 6 reviews, previews, geek outs, and deep dives that cover everything inside and outside the TARDIS, whether it's the things on screen or the stuff that happens to put it there. So please find us on the podcatchers and subscribe, follow, and all that jazz across the social medias too. Thank you, everybody, for your company. I do hope the 60th anniversary year starts to look up. I really do, because we need a biggie. We need Matt Smith. We need Capaldi, or maybe Paul McGann. We need something. We need a nugget.
We need William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy. We need the Doctor. Please come and rescue us.
Doctor Who in distress.
Don't, please. Don't, no, we
Yes,
don't want that. Doctor Who in this dress. Nah.
Obviously, whether you've agreed with what any of us have said or not, continue. You leave us some comments in the comment section, and we'll answer you. We'll interact with you. We're genuinely interested in what you've got to say. We reserve the right to, change, revise our opinions. These aren't I know this isn't the first word. People have been talking about this for a day, and it's not the last word either. The story will gather pace, and we will continue to talk about whatever we bloody well like, and no one's going to stop us here on Type 40. It's offered in the spirit. This is what fandoms has always been about, isn't it, Simon? Getting all this stuff aired.
Absolutely, that's exactly why we're here. And let's not forget, we do love Doctor Who. It might sound like we've moaned for 2 hours, but it's because we love Doctor Who that we've moaned for 2 hours.
My spirit.
And unfortunately, the art that we're doing here now is being rejected by Doctor Who, and it's being led by the current production team.
Yes, so whilst we may not be impressed with the Jinx Monsoon's Norks, we do like a quark. And this is a quark courtesy of the fan artist Mark D. Lewis. A pretty picture for us to end on this edition of the show. That's on canvas. It looks like it's oils or acrylics, Lee. What do you think this is?
Yeah, that looks like it might be gouache. Could be gouache.
Yeah, it could be. It's definitely on canvas. You're quite right. You can see the canvas is beautiful. I love it.
I think Mark sort of throws whatever he can at the canvas, really. And luckily, the results are always excellent. So I do love Mark's work. So, we always like to finish on a pretty picture here. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so... What was that? Sorry, buddy.
Send us your drag quarks, your picture of your drag quarks.
we could start a whole movement there, couldn't we? Start a whole movement.
LGBT quarks.
Give us a name each. Give us a name each.
Keegan, a final word from you, mate. I mean, you've come on. I think you've done well to listen to
Keegan and
all of this. How do you feel about it? I mean, is it you are just going to file this away and see what happens? Is it that simple?
Depends on the future announcements. Casting doesn't bother me, like I said, until I see it for myself. That's when I'll start judging.
Well, we all will. We'll all sort of, well, I don't know. As I said earlier, I am getting to the point of thinking, do you know what, I might just bail early. I just don't know if I'm face.
We're not all going to, Simon. It's very clear over the last couple of weeks that Keaton and Dan will be on their own, probably with Charlotte and Shah. And that's going to be the new look on this show, because it'll be people who are going to watch the thing, because we'll all be gone. Because I can tell you, millions of people around the world started to come back to the show. They've now gone again.
And that's certainly been reflected in the live chat here on YouTube and Facebook, JT. I can't, you're not alone, gentlemen, by any stretch of the imagination.
Around the world.
Thank you, everybody who's been
Darren
commenting.
there says, file under #womanface.
Yes.
I think in the future that will probably be looking back on this going, remember those days? It will be like the black and white minstrel show,
I hope so. I hope so. I'm getting lots of messages now. Thank you, Facebookers. I'm getting messages in from Facebookers. We are not quite finished. We are still live. Thank you. I'll be with you in a second.
I'm saying thank you and good night to everybody. So yeah, Ian, I think you look somewhat perplexed by how we could go on about this for so long. I do appreciate where you're coming from.
No, I know. You know what, right? It's all seriousness. I think JT, Simon, and Problem being are far more qualified than me to talk about
Rubbish.
this stuff. That's what I reckon. You can disagree all you want, but I reckon you guys are. That's why I let you guys talk. And but I agree with everything that you've said. I agree. And I think it's beyond Doctor Who now. It's really insidious. They're trying to put all this stuff into other shows as well, which they have, and they're going to keep going. So that's all I can
fail
say.
Every time.
Well,
every single
they're playing
time.
the long game, as I said. They're trying to make the new generation get used to this stuff, and then they will embrace this stuff. That's their
Normalize.
the world. I mean, it's indoctrinating primary and nursery schools. It's in there already, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
you've got a very valid point, Ian.
I'm going to leave the final comment for Cybermat Strikes, who signs off with, "I'm still in until I'm."
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we can all relate to that. Let us know what you think of it all. You can reach out to us through our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who. What do you reckon about all of this? Or there's the comment section, of course. Meet us in the Type40 Facebook group. Come and have a chat there. Well, yeah, there's already posts about all of this when Facebook aren't removing them for just mysteriously in the middle of the night and thinking I don't notice. More censorship on social media about a program on the telly. What has the world come to? I really don't know. Yeah, who am I thanking? Simon, I really am sincerely sorry for keeping you up this late, but it's been great as always. Lee, happy to have you on. You know, I know you said you're sort of done with Doctor Who and done talking about it, but I'm glad I was able to tempt you on with this. Thank you so much for your contribution. Sincerely, thank you for your contribution. I do hope that it thaws. I mean, if we can't get you to talk about the new stuff or the all new stuff, we can get you on to talk about some of the nice stuff, some of the cozy stuff,
the proper stuff. Yeah.
JT, have you worked through your notes, sir? Have you got it all sorted?
I have worked through my notes, but I have to say,
you got it all out there.
I am not interested in the new Russell T. Davies era. Out.
Thank you. Thanks for your company this evening, Matt. Good morning.
Yeah, only a few more days and then it's Easter. So have a
Easter,
everybody.
Easter, everybody. Yeah, I'd almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff. That's the best news. Of course, I mean, I don't know if you've got any eggs in already, but have you really?
I've laid a few.
He's laid a few, hasn't he? Yes. So
someone.
he's cross-eyed, isn't he? If you look close.
He's very angry as well.
Look at Tom.
I'm not getting any more work.
That's brilliant.
Okay. Yeah. Please. Yeah. Like the video. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. Check you're still subscribed, hit the cloister bell, all that jazz. And yeah, we always have the time.
If it disappears, you know what's happened.
There's more coming up in a couple of days here on the channel, but that's it for this time. Thank you, gentlemen. And thanks to everybody out there for watching, listening, and commenting along. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.